Camera? Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order and remind everybody that this meeting is being recorded by the WTCMUD1 and it will appear on our website shortly after this meeting. And this meeting is also being recorded by parties other than the MUD, and if you have any questions, we ask that you send your questions and comments to the Source of Truth, which is www.wtcmud1.org. We also have one of our constables here tonight, and we appreciate them being here since they are an important part of our community. Do we have the sign-in? Sure. Thank you, Christy. And while you're up, oh shoot, I didn't turn my mic on. Would you please introduce our new staff person?
I will. So for everyone that has not met, this is Mackenzie Hill. She's been with Infomart for 3 years. And she's transferred to Austin from Houston. And she will be working with me and Jess Kennis training as a junior account manager. So give her about 6 months of shadowing me and she'll be able to take off and I'll win the lottery and go my way.
She must be super smart. She can learn from you in 6 months. Everything you know.
Okay, I'm going to open this up, open up the public comment section of our meeting, and Linda Fobb is first on deck, and she's going to make a public comment, and she's also wants to talk about agenda items 11, 16, 21, and 24.
Thank you, Catherine. Before I start, can I confirm with Chris, did you get my email this afternoon?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to start with my public comment. At Monday night's public meeting, Louis Zervagon accused me of what he described as a process whereby I report deed violations and then I show up at the violator's door to save the day and recruit them. His conspiracy theory is totally fabricated, a flat-out lie. He's been making a lot of weird accusations lately, so I've asked under open records for his evidence. What is true and factual is that members of the community forum will throw a lifeline to any resident within the MUD district that asks for our help, or we discover that their rights have been violated by an overreaching MUD board or a fictitious ACC. We help our neighbors understand their deeds and their rights. We will continue to do that because right now we are the only source of truth in the district. We can back up what we say. 11. On October 29th, I requested a copy. That's a prior and pending open records request.
Right.
On October 29th, I requested a copy of the letter that was sent to residents stating you were going to cut trees, blocking light poles and tree limbs or shrubs near the sidewalk. First communication, your attorney denies that such a letter exists. I send a redacted version of the letter and I file a complaint with the Attorney General's office that the district is deliberately withholding public information. Then your more expensive attorney sends me 2 separate letters, the first one claiming they didn't understand what I was asking for, and the second one to delay the delivery of the information. On December 12th, the original attorney sends information that was incomplete. I replied to him that information is missing. I described how I knew that to be a fact and amended my complaint at the AG's office to include what I perceive is a deliberate attempt to withhold public information. The purpose of my sharing this information tonight is so that the viewers will understand 2 things. The committee that is responsible for open records requests consists of Catherine Frank and Louis Zervagon. They alone are responsible for what information is returned to a requester. Their efforts to block the release of the information is a direct cost incurred in legal fees, and they choose to incur. Not only are the attorneys billing for every communication, they are now going to bill this district for the time they will have to spend answering the complaint lodged with the Attorney General's office. To date, direct costs $129,000. Number 16, report from the Deed Restriction Committee. Again, that's Catherine and Louis. The handout from Bill Flickinger on Monday night of the deed restrictions that the board has decided not to enforce is incomplete. In addition to allowing motorcycles and overnight street parking for authorized emergency vehicles, you are also not enforcing the single-family residence stipulation, signs, and unregistered classic or vintage vehicles. Also, when you publish accurate information, be sure to identify where in the district these rules apply and the recourse every homeowner has for enforcement of things in their deed that the MUD chooses not to enforce. The minutes taken at the DRC meetings are also incomplete. For viewers watching, the public comments portion of the meeting minutes are lacking any substance in what was presented by constituents. If you are interested in how the community forum is fighting to protect your rights, please watch the public comments portion of the videos. Follow us on Facebook at the Community Forum for WCTMUD1. We publish our comments there and will press for answers to our questions. Funding for and interaction with the neighborhood associations and HOA to facilitate operation of the ACCs.
Which number is that?
That is 16F. Deed restriction enforcement and other functions of associations. Catherine, last month you as the treasurer of the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association submitted receipts on behalf of the association under the pretext that they were involved in the Light Up the Park event. They were not. There was nothing on their webpage that advertised it, nothing that solicited participation. You and Lewis are all that's left of the executive committee of that association as far as I can tell. Beth Jones is listed as the president, but she hasn't responded to my emails, so I suspect she's only a placeholder, and the 2 other positions remain unfilled. And the website doesn't identify any changes at all. But you 2 know there is no ACC support. It was through that organization that you set up the fictitious ACC. Refer to David Atwood's letter for details. Now you are taking revenue from the district to pay for the legal expenses incurred by Louis Zervigon and Megan Dudo. If the district pays for it, you owe it to the residents to share what you learned for almost $4,000 in legal fees to date. If you live in Anderson Mill West, Lewis and Catherine, wearing their Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association hats, are using the fines they have collected from you to defend themselves from stealing your rights for over a decade. How does that make you feel? Is the picture becoming more clear? Restrictive covenant management agreement between the district and SAGE, and we are still on 16, by the way.
Okay.
As it's just letters, A, B, C, D, G, whatever. As the evidence mounts demonstrating that SAGE management has been grossly negligent and has perpetrated fraudulent acts against your constituents, I have forwarded the second letter demonstrating that to Art and Chris to include in the concern letter I sent to them on December 13th, 2019. That letter included concerns in the way in which this contractor was selected and the repeated violations of their contract with deceptive practices. I have also asked for the redlined version of their contract mentioned by Bill Flickinger at Monday night's meeting, although I am unsure why this board would even consider keeping a dishonest contractor. I'm on 21. Report from customer care. Again, this is Lewis and Catherine. This committee is not answering the questions that are put forth in our public comments. Who then will be answering those questions in a timely manner? 24, report from the Infrastructure Committee. This morning while I was walking, I realized just how slippery the crosswalks in the district are, and when I got home, I contacted the Williamson County Road and Bridge Department and filed a report for assistance. The crosswalks in our MUD district have been restriped so often that they are extremely thick and super slippery when wet. They are on our safe routes to school paths, so I was wanting to see if you can come and redo or fix the surface so that they are not slippery. Falling in the middle of a busy road could be tragic. That was my message to them. On 24H is a Beacon AMA Managed Solution Master Agreement for software cellular data hosting for the Badger electronic meters. How did this electronic meter project go from a capital improvement project with 10 homes participating in a test this past June to Infomark purchasing what I think was 50 meters in 2019 without ever discussing the results of the testing in a public meeting? I have many questions about this project. When were the results of the testing shared in a public meeting? What are the test results recorded? What other electronic meters were tested? Are the units you've selected compatible with Cedar Park's water system hardware and software? What is the cost of each meter? What is the cost of the software? Who did the test installs? Were there any damages or failures to the property on either side of the meter during the installations? Why is there no longer a capital improvement project tracking the project costs? Using the budget amount for the pilot program of $15,000 for the recorded 10 test meters, which is the only public information available about this project, wouldn't that be a project over threshold and require bidding? Has this project been bid? And are the master meters a part of the proposed bond project? That's the end of my comments, Catherine, and if it helps to get answers to questions, I will submit them the day after in writing to you, if that will
Okay.
help,
Okay,
because we really do need answers. Otherwise, we have to keep repeating ourselves.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Sarah, and she wants to make a public comment and comment on agenda items 8, 11, 23, and 29.
Preceding November's board meeting, I submitted a formal concern letter to members of this board and asked to be placed on the agenda to present my concerns and have them addressed. I was not put on the agenda for that board meeting or allotted time to present my concerns, but was told a committee comprised of Art, Jana, and the attorney for the district, Bill Flickinger, would review my letter and address it in tonight's meeting. I would like to clarify a point for neighbors watching, and that is that the lawyer, Bill Flickinger, does not represent the constituents of this district. His duty is to the members of this board. If the board's review of the concern letter uncovered anything questionable in their practice, it would be his duty to advise them that it was illegal and then help them to structure a response that would safeguard them from prosecution. He would have no obligation to report wrongdoing to our neighborhood. It is his duty as their lawyer to protect and defend the board members' interests, not our community's. Many neighbors think that since their tax dollars pay Bill's paycheck, that he will fight for them. Unfortunately, that is not the way it works. He is being paid to protect them and not us. Because the board has not made any arrangements for me to present my concerns as I originally requested, I will now read the concern letter as part of my public comments, since it relates to a great deal of the items on tonight's agenda. On November 15th, I submitted the following concern letter. Board members, in an effort to have concerns regarding the practices of this MUD Board of Directors reviewed, I contacted the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. I was advised to follow the procedures detailed in TCEQ publication GI 043. This letter will outline several concerns I have as a constituent and the outcome and resolution I am seeking. Concern number 1, improper finding and enforcement of Anderson Mill West ACC rulings. The Anderson Mill West Architectural Control Committee has historically made interpretations of the deeds for Anderson Mill West sections in the form of rulings. For an unknown number of years, possibly decades, the MUD Board has used these rulings as an additional basis for levying fines to residents under the Texas Water Code 54.237. A recent legal opinion was offered by Mr. David J. Atwood indicating that there is no proof that this ACC is legally impaneled and that the MUD Board has no grounds to permanently convey any portion of its authority to a non-governmental entity. See Exhibit B. To date, neither the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association, the Anderson Mill West ACC, nor the MUD Board have produced any legal evidence that the ACC is or was operating legally. A letter has been produced by the Voluntary Neighborhood Association, known as the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association, or AMWNA, that houses the ACC, indicating the functions of this committee will be put on hold. See Exhibit C. But the community has not been alerted to this change in procedure. Neither the district website nor the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association website have been updated to reflect the content of this letter. The outcome. As a constituent, I request that the board publish documentation that either supports or denies the legal impanelment of the Anderson Mill West Architectural Control Committee. I would expect that the board, if it is unable to provide legal support for the operation of the Anderson Mill West ACC, would promptly make a public announcement to the neighborhood explaining the situation and updating that information on the MUD and Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association websites. Concern number 2, improper funding and use of district revenue discretionary fund, also known as the beautification fund. I am concerned that the MUD Board of Directors has used the money collected from deed enforcement fines to create a discretionary account. This discretionary account currently serves to fund a non-government entity, the Voluntary Neighborhood Association, on which 2 of the MUD Board directors are members of the executive committee. I am concerned that district revenue is being funneled to an informal organization that is directly tied to those who are voting to fund it. For clarification's sake, this is the flow of money that concerns me. The Anderson Mill West Architectural Control Committee mentioned above creates a ruling. MUD Board President Catherine Franke also sits on the ACC. Money is collected in fines related to these rulings through the Deed Restriction Committee, which Catherine Franke also sits on. Fines collected are transferred to a discretionary fund titled Beautification Funds, see Exhibit D. Disbursement of funds to Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association are determined by a board vote. Catherine Franke and Luis Zervagon participate in these votes. And then the money is dispersed to the treasurer of the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association, who is Catherine Franke. Ultimately, the spending of this money is determined by the executive committee of the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association, of which both Catherine Franke and Luis Zervagon sit on. In essence, Catherine Franke controls what neighbors will be fined for and who will be fined, then moves that money to a discretionary account that both her and Luis Zervagon vote on to be dispersed. That money is then distributed to an organization that she herself and Luis Zervagon help to drive. This cycle speaks strongly to motivations of self-dealing. The outcome. I believe it would be in the best interest of our MUD district to have any monies collected from fines generated by deed enforcement be returned to the district general revenue and used to offset the cost of deed enforcement instead of being placed in a discretionary account and dispersed to associations. Furthermore, I believe it would be in the best interest of our district for anyone who serves as a MUD board director to be disallowed from serving on any neighborhood board that could create conflicts of interest or be cause for ethics violations. Lastly, I believe a full investigation of the improper channeling of monies by Catherine Franke and Luis Zervagon should be undertaken. Concern 3. Improper use of district funds to mount a legal anti-transparency campaign through abuses of the Texas Public Information Act. This district has spent an unconscionable amount of money in legal fees to thwart transparency. As of the date of this letter, the fees were approaching $100,000 and involve the services of 2 separate law firms, see Exhibit E. From what I can ascertain, these attorney fees in large part are going towards dealing with open records requests. The use of law firms to handle these requests is odd and costly, especially since the district has already contracted with the district's management company, Infomark, to fulfill these requests with no additional cost to the district. See Exhibit F, page 9. The last legal firm hired is making requesting records as difficult as possible by taking an extraordinarily long time to fulfill the requests. The Texas Public Information Act points to a 10-day maximum, representing best practice for compliance. The firm utilizes stalling techniques, such as asking for multiple clarifications, reporting extended periods of time needed to gather data, and extending the time required to compile data under the guise that the data requires heavy redaction, or after months of stalling, reporting that the data does not exist. Many of these tactics are present in the open records request detailed in Exhibit G. These extended fulfillment periods are not only contrary to what the TPIA sets forward as a standard for transparency, but greatly increase the cost to the district in legal fees. See Exhibit G. Additionally, the district has begun a push for neighbors to sign confidentiality forms, and then improperly used Utility Code 182.052, see Exhibit H, to redact information that does not fall under the narrowly defined allowable redaction of a government-operated utility set forward in that code. Most recently, the district fulfilled a request for deed enforcement records with data that was heavily redacted without an Attorney General's decision under this guise, irregardless of the fact that the data was clearly not related to customers' utility billing or usage, also evidenced by request in Exhibit G. Because that code also allows the permissible redaction without the AG decision, the improper use of it would have never even come under the scrutiny of the Attorney General's office, except for constituents who recognized the improper redaction and reported it for further investigation. As another example of this costly effort to thwart transparency, instead of releasing a report on annexation as instructed by the Attorney General, the board has decided to bring suit in Travis County against Attorney General Paxton in an effort to conceal it on the pretext of a future litigation strategy. See Exhibit I. There is no threat of annexation to this MUD district, and there hasn't been since the legislature made involuntary annexation impossible with Senate Bill 6 in 2017 and House Bill 347 in 2019. Costs associated with this request continue to mount unnecessarily. It is concerning to me that my taxes are being used to conceal information that should be readily available through the Texas Public Information Act, and that this board is skewing the conversation to inaccurately be about confidentiality instead of transparency, in an effort to escape scrutiny regarding the amount of money spent on this anti-transparency campaign. Additionally, it is troublesome that when accessing records through TPIA, myself and other residents have been publicly shamed, bullied, and harassed. In more than one recorded meeting, constituents have been called out by name and accused of boosting costs to the district, and what I can only assume is an effort to curtail our rights to access these records through the use of intimidation. See Exhibit J. More recently, a posting by the Andersonville West Neighborhood Association, which 2 MUD board directors sit on, reiterated these accusations. See Exhibit K. Not only were these attacks inaccurate and misleading, they constitute what I believe amounts to an active suppression of information. Outcome. I believe it is in the best interest of our district to dismiss the law firm that was hired to deal with open records requests. I believe the annexation report that was paid for with taxpayer dollars and has been deemed public information that shall be released in a decision by the Texas Attorney General should be immediately released. And the lawsuit filed in Travis County in an effort to conceal that information should be dropped. I think that all open records requests should be processed by an Infomark employee, as outlined in their contract, who is properly trained in servicing these requests, not by a costly lawyer. Records should be organized in a fashion so that servicing open records requests require less labor and time, both cutting down on associated costs and responding promptly as indicated by the Texas Public Information Act. I think that the board should create a transparency plan so that each constituent can easily access records that concern the district without fear of shame or intimidation. Concern number 4, violation of Open Meetings Act, walking quorum. After watching and recording each public meeting for almost a year now, I have serious concerns about whether this board is adhering to the Texas Open Meetings law with regards to a walking quorum. See Exhibit L. A review of the voting record of the last year indicates that out of 138 votes, 135 of them were unanimous. By witnessing, see Exhibit M, by witnessing the meetings, it becomes apparent that there is a marked lack of discussion or information sharing regarding agenda items. The budget meeting on September 11th, 2019 is a prime example of a lack of discussion. The lack of dissension, coupled with the lack of discussion in meetings, speaks strongly to the idea that the board is communicating on these topics outside of the public view. I did request to inspect the email accounts of the board directors through TPIA when I suspected a walking quorum from the in-meeting behavior. The board has offered to make these emails available to me for an inspection cost of $11,895. See Exhibit N. Of course, this ridiculous amount of money appears to be another tactic to deal with any TPIA requests that imperil directors with having to reveal incriminating behavior. It is particularly telling that they have already spent close to $11,000 fighting against releasing those same emails, money that could have been more wisely spent creating a transparent communication system. See Exhibit O. Outcome. I believe that a review by an objective third party of all of the emails of the Board of Directors should be performed to rule out violations of the Open Meeting Act. For transparency's sake, in the future, I believe an online message board on the MUD website should be utilized for director and community communication in lieu of private emails, text messages, and phone calls, like the system referenced in the Texas open meeting laws themselves. See Exhibit P. Concern number 5. Violation of Open Meetings Act, closed committee meetings. One of my first concerns as a constituent was that closed committee meetings were being used to make decisions that were then presented to the full quorum for rubber stamping. I sent a series of emails to Board President Catherine Franke regarding my concern. See Exhibit Q. This concern is what spurred my interest in videotaping each public meeting, so that it may be apparent to others how little discussion surrounds the board votes. This lack of discussion in general can be viewed over the last year by watching these publicly posted meetings. The amount of work done and decisions made outside of the public view is highlighted in the meetings in general, but is especially pronounced in the meeting on April 10, 2019, where the new park rules were adopted. The rules that pertain to our neighborhood parks were almost exclusively discussed and amended into a document inside of a meeting that was closed to the public. The committee worked on this closed meeting with legal counsel to finalize the rules prior to the board vote, and then presented them to the board, who rubber stamped the changes. Outcome. It is my understanding, according to the Texas Open Meetings Act, referenced in Exhibit P, that committee meetings should function only to gather information that is then brought to the main meeting for planning and decision-making in the public arena. If decisions are made, documents created, contractors chosen, etc., then those meetings where this occurs are required to be open to public attendance by the constituents that must live by those decisions. At the heart of the open meetings laws is the premise that constituents deserve to understand and see how the local government is making decisions. In an effort to open the decision-making process up to the view of the constituents in our district, it appears that one of two things could happen. The committees of the board could either open committee meetings to public attendance or record and broadcast all committee meetings. Either of these changes would serve to reflect the intention of the Open Meetings Act by overwhelmingly increasing transparency. Thank you.
Okay, I'm now going to close the public.
I came a little late. I didn't get to sign in.
Okay, that's fine. Come on up, David.
All right. Thank you.
You got a public comment?
I do.
Okay.
And I'd like to thank Sarah for all that hard work and time that she put in away from her kids to speak. Thank you, Sarah, for everything that you do. So I wanted to comment on Mr. Louis Zervagonig, whatever, however you say his last name, about his post on the Valente Hill website, Facebook page. You posted a comment on there, correct, Mr. Zervagon? Is that?
Continue.
Okay. No, won't answer my question. Not a
Correct.
problem. All right, so I wanted to speak, and let's see. I wanted to discuss NPD. Does anybody know what NPD is? People with NPD often spend much time thinking about achieving power and success. Typically, they also take advantage of people around them. NPD usually displays arrogance and a distorted sense of personal superiority, and seek to establish abuse of power and control over others. NPD typically value themselves over others to the extent of openly disregarding the wishes and the feelings of anyone else, and expect to be treated as superior. Why do I mention NPD? NPD is a narcissist personality disorder, which I believe Mr. Zervagon, suffers from. I want the public to pay attention, and all of you on the board to pay attention to his behavior. Pay attention to who he is. Pay attention to how he treats his people. Go back and look up this disorder, and just go back to the videos. It's all evidence. It's all there. And you'll see that, he
now
suffers
you're a
from
doctor
that.
also.
No, now see, and another
you're a
thing
doctor.
on MPD is that they hate conflict. They hate people talking about their name and so pure case of narcissism right here. So, ladies and gentlemen, just pay attention to this man. Find out who he is. Find out where he used to work. Find out why he is here and not in Louisiana with his 18 kids and grandkids and everything. Find out why. Okay, so people, do your research on this man, and he is unfit, once again, to serve in our community. He doesn't know how to serve.
Okay.
I'm not done.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
You're trying to cut me off?
I'm sorry. What else did you want to talk about?
Now, I'd like to say thank you for your time, and you have a great day.
Okay. Now I will close the public comment section of this meeting. Okay, so agenda item number 2, presentations by neighborhood associations and homeowners associations within the district. Do we have anybody from any of the HOAs or the neighborhood association? Okay. Agenda item 3, presentation by Megan Dudu on Cypress Elementary School Safe Routes to School program. You're up, Megan.
Okay, so I do have a presentation, so where do you think would be the best place for me to stand? So that I'm not standing directly in front of Jana and Chris.
Are you going to use the video?
Yeah.
You want to stand here?
Is that okay? Well, I have will I be loud enough with the
Yeah,
camera?
she can turn her microphone on.
Okay, awesome.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm freezing. You can adjust.
My feet are frozen.
There's a thermostat over there.
Let's turn it up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to grab this. My nose is running. I'm so cold.
You see,
72 good?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get a little heat. Yeah. Oh, it was? Oh, wait. Hold on.
did you set it to warm?
Okay. Okay.
We're working on it. It disconnected.
We're all set, and then it disconnected. Okay.
Looks like it's rebooting. Get some coffee. You want coffee?
Give me some then, too. Yeah. Are we getting closer?
Yeah, it just went idle and then it decided it needed to reset itself.
Thank you.
Disconnect right now.
Just speak it. Microphone on it. Turn it up.
Tell you what, I'm gonna give you 30 more seconds, and then we are going to, you're gonna continue working to solve the problem, and we're gonna go on to another budget, another agenda item. How about that? Something happened there. What's that mean?
That's me, I'm trying a different sort of status.
Okay. Tell you what, while you continue working, we're gonna go on, we're gonna do the engineer's report. Hopefully by the time Herb's finished, you'll have solved the technical problem. Okay, agenda item 4. Herb, you're up.
All right, I have handed out to everybody a copy of the notes from our infrastructure meeting last week. The first couple of items here, I don't know if Infomark's got any more updates on
Yes,
their
we're
items.
actually, water accountability, we're back in line, 97%. This is the first full month after the AstroPass meter had been adjusted, so we're
Okay.
Good deal. And as noted also under that Badger meter pilot program, we did look at the Badger meter beacon AMA solution master agreement. I don't know if I think the decision was that really something the attorney needs to look at, and the infrastructure was going to recommend that tonight, I believe,
I believe it.
the board to authorize that.
The infrastructure committee recommends that the attorney review the proposed contract and then report to the board.
Okay, just as clarification, I believe the contract you're referring to is really the software and licensing agreement, which is quite long. I don't know that we have the actual agreement to purchase the meters, which is usually a pricing sheet that goes along with it. So there'll be two parts to the contract.
Yeah, I think the contract we're looking at is just for the software.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And for the purchase of the meters, we have some previous pricing in place. correct? And the meters we're buying now are to put into the program we've always had for replacing meters that age out.
Correct. So, yeah, I mean, we've got a meter replacement program at 2 million or 1.5 to start replacing meters. Of course, during the month, we usually have a couple meters that just go 0 reads, so we replace those. So we're currently replacing the meters with the new meters that can convert over to the AMI once the contract is executed.
And that would be under the program we've had for many years of replacing meters that age out or that fail.
Right, so once the contract is approved, if we do go that route, all we would have to do is put an antenna on the meter that we're installing, and that would activate it to an endpoint.
And when you refer to that contract, you're referring to the software contract?
Correct.
Okay. And the meter replacement program that we have designated to be a part of the bond issue is different than, oh, I'm sorry. The program that the infrastructure committee suggested could be part of the bond issue is separate from the meter replacement program that occurs when meters age out.
Right, you would have to replace meters regardless. So,
Exactly.
yeah, we're just
So-
moving forward on our regular PM schedule, so any meter that's over 2 million or at 1.5, we replace those. You'll see in my packet this afternoon, I've got 48 meters that are over 2 million gallons that we have on the schedule to replace.
And that's something we've been doing for years.
Correct, yes.
The bond issue program is separate, and that would involve replacing all the meters. in
All
the district.
meters.
But that will not come up until and unless we do the bond issue, or select an alternative way of financing.
Okay, so as I understand it, the software and license agreement would be considered so that we can use that feature on the meters that we've been installing as replacements?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I understand.
So, I made a motion. Do we need a motion for this?
Well, let's go ahead and do a motion.
Okay, so I move that we direct the attorney to review the contract for the software for the meters.
Okay, so is there any more discussion? All in favor? Okay.
All right. The last item on the Infomark is everything's been up to date, being kept up to date as far as the required items to comply with the MS4 permit. Outside of that, there's no action or necessary anything else outside of that. Under the engineering general items, the Sunchase Park drainage channel. We'll try to run these. The footbridge items 1 and 2 on my list here on page 1, they kind of go hand in hand. The footbridge as well as the channel. The channel work that's remaining is underneath the proposed location for the footbridge. The contractor, Westar Construction, has moved in. They have got the concrete abutments put in there on both sides, so they're ready for the bridge to be delivered. They're anticipating the 22nd of the delivery, so we should be seeing that here within the next week or so. That's the latest and greatest, so we're getting closer, I hope. The channels they went ahead and have done the cleanup within the channel to get that. There's still some compaction they need to do, some excess spoils. Those are going to be utilized for the most part on site when they do the backfill around the concrete abutments to get that stuff dressed back up. So we're looking good. Look like it's finally going to get done. We're getting closer. So I'd love to give you more confidence, but we're right there. During the excavation, there was an electrical line that ran to the back of the park for some lighting. Although there was knowledge of those lights, there wasn't any knowledge of that electrical line running through there. That did get damaged. The Infomark's gone out and temporarily reconnected the wiring to activate those lights again. I've talked to Westar. When the bridge does get set, we're going to attach a conduit to the bottom side of that bridge. So any future issue, we can eliminate hopefully any future issues through that area of having any kind of breaks with that. And if there's ever any maintenance, it'd be a lot easier to deal with instead of going down that slope and through that channel and trying to hold it in place. So that's where we're at. Hopefully next month we'll be reporting that we're done. TNR development permit, we got the final document sent over last week to Travis County to hopefully close out the Blazing Star permit. They have not responded. We've made phone calls and emails trying to get some kind of confirmation. We've not received that. I can just tell you everything's been uploaded to their website for that. The second permit for Castlewood, we're just gonna have, the deck's just gonna have to get built in order for us to even close that one out. Even though Westar has their own permit for that work, we're gonna have to wait. As far as the Phase 3 pond improvements go, the contractor, I talked to him on Monday. They are looking, the carpenter should be on site next week to start putting the deck together within Castlewood. My understanding, some of the side rails have been put together at his shop during some of the weather, so he's been able to do some work. The contractor Westar Construction has completed the sidewalk improvements along the backside. We've discussed that and noted that. And with that, we've processed a pay estimate from them in the previously approved amount of $33,500. And I believe the infrastructure will want to make that motion as well to concur with the payment.
And this is, just so that the public understands, this is for the sidewalk that goes over to Anderson Mill Pond.
From Castlewood to Anderson Mill West Pond,
Yes.
correct.
And the amount that's been billed is within the budget.
Correct.
And that's why our committee recommends to the board a payment of the invoice. So I'd like to move payment of the invoice.
Herb, what's going on at Blazing Star?
Blazing Star.
You just said something about a blazing star.
It's just a permit that Travis County has open. There's nothing going on
Well,
over
then
there.
why is it called Blazing Star?
There's a pond that's Blazing.
Is there
Yeah.
something going on in the pond?
That's the Astor.
This is the after effect.
Astor
Travis
Pass,
came along
Blazing
after.
Star.
Okay.
County called it Blazing Star.
Okay.
It's
So
the
I
Astor
used their
Pass.
name.
But it's that little
It's
park
the
there.
Astor Pass Pond by the
Okay.
school that
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
is the one that I'm
Yeah.
referencing.
So did I get a second on did you second the motion?
I'll second.
Yeah, okay, so the motion is to approve,
Payment of the invoice to Westar, $33,500.
okay. And that's for the sidewalk?
That's for the
Just for the
sidewalk to Anderson Mill Pond from
Okay.
the Casho Wood Pond.
Okay, any more discussion? All approved? Okay,
All right, and then Westar has done previously the piers for the deck to be sitting on. So this invoice that they've submitted for the $13,650 is to cover the cost of the piers, cover the cost of their engineering and permitting that they had to do. That work's been there for a couple of months. They just kind of, I think, realized they ought to try to get some of their money they've been sitting on. So based on that, I believe the infrastructure again was going to make that recommendation.
The infrastructure committee recommends that the board consider payment of the Westar construction invoice in the amount of $13,650. The invoice is for the completion of the piers, the permit, and the engineering of the deck design.
I'll second the motion.
okay. Do you have any more discussion? All in favor? Okay.
All right, and then on the next item 5 has to do with the water valve and fire hydrant survey. Infomark's gearing up to get that work started. Hopefully sometime, at some point this month, that work will be moving forward. The vendor for item 6 on the televising of the wastewater system, that work, based on their workload, is looking to be towards the end of March when they come in. First part of March, sometime during that month. And again, that's just depending on what they continue to run into or not run into on their other projects.
I believe that's also part of the bond issue.
If move forward.
If you move forward, because
Right.
you mentioned
It's
the bond
current,
issue.
the televising is a requirement that you're required to do anyway, but the work, if identified, could be involved or could be wrapped into a bond if the board decided to move forward with the bond.
For the work, not the televising.
Correct. Correct. As part of those two programs, there's been a lot of discussion of collecting some GPS data while we have crews on site doing this. The maps, the district maps, although they're good maps, their technology has gotten such that there's a lot of web-based mapping that residents are able to use. The operations company can use as a backdoor private entry into those, where you can better track repairs as well as getting notifications of upcoming required testing that may be necessary. So currently, right now, there's been no real numbers or anything put together on this, but while Infomark's crews are at the water valves and at the fire hydrants, they're gonna go ahead, take the few seconds, collect the data, forward that to us, and we'll look at what we're talking about as far as formatting. The infrastructure suggested adding into this program or into this process, tying down the street lights and mailbox locations. Again, so we can get more accurate information that's usable by the residents as well as anybody else, and be able to track this information. So there's no action required, it's just more of an update of how we're proceeding and what we're looking at right now. The item 8 was the invoices were reviewed and approved by the infrastructure committee. It was brought up at the infrastructure committee, there is a budget number to move forward with more sidewalk maintenance within the district. Initially, the discussion is to work towards the Lakeline Oaks, Hunters Glen section, are the big sections that are left. But what we'd like to do, just to kind of clear up the formality of it, is just seek approval or directive or whatever you want to do it, to authorize us to go ahead and start getting with the vendors to lay that work back out, get some pricing to bring back in a couple of months, and see if you want to move forward with that.
Are you, in the past, I've submitted lots of locations. Do you want us to go back and collect those locations? Are you saying that your sidewalk vendor is willing to go find those locations?
Within Lakeline Oaks and Hunters Glen, I don't believe there's a need for anybody to go through those individually. If you've got other locations within the district that are problem issues of sidewalk, then by all means, let's get those forwarded to me or the committee. And if the budget is $40,000, and if we do Lakeline Oaks and Hunters Glen and there's only $25,000, then it may be that we have a group of other sidewalks that could be used leveled up that y'all are aware of.
Right.
If you'll let me know, then we can kind of see if we can organize that on a map. So that he's I can't get him necessarily, the price goes up, to
Right.
jump all over the district for
Right.
one here, one there.
Right.
But if we may be able to do that.
My observation when I've been in the Lakeline Oaks neighborhood is that the sidewalks don't necessarily have what I'll call rising or leveling issues. They just have the top of the sidewalks are just crumbling. It's like the recipe for the cement was bad. And I don't see that kind of wear and tear in the Anderson Mill West sections that are 20 years older than.
That kind of sounds meaningful.
Well,
I know what she's talking about.
Well, once we move forward, what we'll do, and I have not done it to date, but typically what I'll do is we'll meet with the vendor, and we'll walk these things and go look at them.
Okay.
And so we'll pay attention to that. But one of the biggest issues, I'm kind of hesitant, I'm always gun shy of the tree roots, but when I go through Lakeline Oaks, that appears to be the biggest issue, are the trees right by the sidewalk, where we've got pitched sidewalks because of the growth of the trees. So we could get into more of that additional cost than what we've done in the past.
So one of the things I think we should do is we should reach out to all the HOAs, the neighborhood associations, and next door, and ask for community comment to give us those addresses where they think that there's a problem that needs to be put on the list so it can be part of the inspection process. So.
Are we gonna include Travis County? No, right?
No, we're not going to worry about it. Well, actually, what I think we should do is identify those areas in Travis County, and then we need to have Infomark, go pester Travis County to say, I need you to come fix my sidewalks.
Okay,
That's how I want, and so, Valente Hills is totally in Travis County, so I think that from the HOA's point of view, I think we should work together to try to get Travis County to do anything that needs to be done with your sidewalks.
Agreed.
We have an emailing list to all the HOAs
Yes.
that we use, and Jana, we could use that as a vehicle for.
Yeah.
Should someone come up with a language that we should use,
Okay.
and who should do that? Should we have maybe ask Herb to come up with some language?
And we can also put it on the website.
Yes, yes. So.
Galena Hills already has it on their Facebook page and their website.
So what we're talking about then would be a request to all the HOAs to query their members if they have anything they want to alert us to relative to sidewalk repairs, to get them in.
Okay.
So the language that we should use, you made a statement earlier that sounded like the perfect language that we should use.
You're going to play the tape back. We'll get back on that.
Okay.
Why don't you just get a few words together and send it to Jana,
Okay.
and Jana and I can make sure it gets out to the HOAs.
Okay.
All
I
right.
don't want to overstate the case. If I come up with something, I might overstate the case.
Okay, we'll do that. I'll get that done. We'll get that to Jana, and then we can go from there with it. And that'll be, ideas, just something you want to send out to the HOAs to ask the residents.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can put something together for that.
And if you could include me on
Absolutely. So I don't know if the board wants to make a motion or just do a directive to move forward with the budget we have and
Yeah,
get
we're
started.
gonna move forward with the budget,
Okay.
that's fine, yeah.
There's no motion is required?
No, this is a project that's gonna take another month or so. But I suspect by the time we meet again, we will have collected the list where we can, for you to start identifying what the repair needs are.
I think what I'll do is based on that knowledge, just to try to eliminate some back and forth trips that may be
Okay.
unnecessary, is I may go ahead and we'll get that information out to the HOAs. We'll probably give them to like the February meeting to respond.
Okay,
And then I can get the contractor and then we can go see what needs to be done.
okay,
As far as the Travis County items, our office is gonna take care of that. I'm not gonna run a vendor through it because we're not gonna pay a vendor to do anything.
right.
So,
Before you go to 10, we need to go back to 8, because we need a motion to approve the payment of your invoices.
okay.
The infrastructure committee has reviewed the invoices of Gray Engineers, and you want to make the motion?
Yeah, I make the motion that the infrastructure committee, the infrastructure committee makes the recommendation to approve all invoices submitted by Gray Engineering.
For the current month.
Okay,
I second the motion.
okay, is there any discussion? All approved?
Where's
Okay.
Chris?
Chris?
What about 9 and 10?
Well, nine is what y'all were
Yeah.
discussing.
Chris, you want to be recorded on this
It's a
vote?
budget item, so a directive should be fine.
The motion was to authorize the payment to Gray Engineers for the invoices of the month.
Okay, all
Okay.
approved. Okay, keep going, Herb.
All right, so the sidewalk, we'll move forward with that. We'll
Yeah.
start that process. It'll really be next month before we
Yeah.
start doing anything. As we wanted to continue, a couple of months ago, the Hunters Glen, I don't remember the section, but the Hunters Glen HOA had come and asked about see if the district could complete some of the trail work down within the channel between the Madeline Loop and Sunchase. And so we're carrying that on here as a reminder of that. There's no specific items within the budget to address that this year. The reason the gaps are there and the reason some of the way that section was completed at the end had to do with the amount of money it was gonna take to make that connection, to come under the rules of TDLR, the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. So the infrastructure was going to, I believe, review the budgets and see, one, if there's any monies available for that, and then two, that we're gonna request our office via the board approval to start looking at that, to what it's gonna take in order to even come up with a cost of what kind of number the MUD may be looking at in order to do the work.
I think what the committee had in mind was coming up with a scope of work and cost that we could recommend to the budget committee.
Right.
In consideration of next year's budget.
Yes.
So it's not something we're gonna do now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, we're doing the
But we want-
planning.
We
planning
wanna
for
do
it.
some planning and get something into the budget committee. So that
Yes.
means we need to get a scope of work from your office and maybe from Mo Farris. And if we need to authorize some expenditure to accomplish that, then we need to get a
Okay,
proposal from you.
we'll try to bring those numbers to the next committee February committee meeting to lay that information out in order to put this together.
Okay.
So that's kind of where it's really at. So, outside of that, unless you've got any questions or I have mysteriously forgotten something, that's all of my report.
Okay. Thank you, Herb. Well, it looks like our technical. Of course. Okay. Well, I'm going to wait for her then. Megan.
She's not allowed.
Okay, we are going to jump back to agenda item 3, which is Megan Dudu's presentation on the Cypress Elementary School Safe Routes to School program. Okay, Megan, you're up.
Thank you for being patient, and thank you for having me here tonight to speak. I know that everyone who's in this room knows who I am, but for people who may be watching the recording of the presentation after the fact, I just wanted to introduce myself to those folks. My name is Megan Dudo. I am a resident of Andersonville West. Some people may know me from the Andersonville West Neighborhood Association. I served on that board for a number of years, both as vice president and as president, and I have recently stepped down from that position, and I've started a much less formal and completely separate group called Friends of Andersonville West. I am also a mom of 3 kids, 2 of which are of school age, and they attend Cypress Elementary. And this past fall, I was honored to have been asked to serve on Cypress's site-based committee, which is a committee comprised of faculty and parents whose job it is to sort of look at broader general issues that may be facing our campus as a whole. And so back in November, the site-based committee decided to pursue a Safe Routes to School program and to pursue a Safe Routes to School planning process to develop that program. And so one of the things that we're doing, at the super early phase of the project is working to get the word out about the project, build enthusiasm for the project, assemble a broad coalition of partners to work on the project. And so this is actually our first big public presentation about what the project is. And so because of that, I really wanted to start kind of at the beginning and talk a little bit about what the factors are that led to Cypress's decision to pursue a Safe Routes to School program, and an overall introduction to what Safe Routes to School is, the benefits of taking a Safe Routes to School program approach to address many of the issues that we're facing in our district versus some other approach. The benefits of an effective Safe Routes to School program, so if the program is doing what it's supposed to be doing, what are the benefits to our children and to our community? Kind of a quick overview of the planning process as we sort of see it at this very early phase. And then just finishing up with some key points that I hope will answer some questions people might be having about the project, such as the cost of the planning process, the role of the board, so why am I here talking to you all tonight if this is a Cypress Elementary School project, and then how residents can stay connected with the project. So a little bit about how we got here. So during my time serving on the Neighborhood Association Board and even ongoing with Friends of Andersonville West, whenever I talk to residents about quality of life in our community and the things that they have concerns over, ongoing for the future of our community, something that comes up time and time and time again from a variety of different people in a variety of different ways is concerns over speeding on our neighborhood streets and just generally road safety for a variety of users. And you all know this better than I do. I know that the board has been working for years on various ways to address this, and it's not a trivial problem, especially given that we are within not one but two counties that maintain our streets. Around this time last year, we had some residents contact the neighborhood association expressing concerns over the safety of the Dagama Drive and Dagama Court intersection and crosswalk. Those residents had observed that cars just speed right through that intersection. They don't even stop. It's a really weird, awkward intersection to begin with. And they were just very concerned that eventually there was going to be an accident there. And so the neighborhood association worked for several months with Cypress Elementary and with Travis County. That segment of the road is in Travis County, to try to mitigate that issue in sort of a rapid way. And we ended up purchasing an in-street crosswalk sign that is placed there during school drop-off and release times. And I think that has had a pretty good impact on the issue at that intersection. But what this particular issue highlighted was the need to take a broader look at all of the intersections around the school and all of the routes that children take to and from school and their safety. At the same time, there is sort of this looming threat of the neighborhoods on the other side of Andersonville Road losing their bus service. And so Leander Independent School District has designated Andersonville Road as a non-hazardous route. And
Wow.
That's great.
yes, that it is a complex decision, and there are a variety of factors that go into it, which I won't even try to explain tonight. But that is pretty much the response that anybody who's ever seen Andersonville Road gets, kind of just incredulous laughter, because it seems absurd that any child, especially a young child, could cross that road safely. So those neighborhoods have not lost their service yet, but it is likely to happen in the near future. And so taking a look at what are the implications of that, and what do we do if and when that happens. Sort of broadly speaking, another issue that residents bring up a lot, something that residents in our community seem to really want, is opportunities to interact with one another. Both formal and formal opportunities. They really want to get to know their neighbors. And so promoting a culture of sort of lively streets where people can get out of their cars and feel like they can walk around safely and bike, those are all important things for kind of fostering that kind of neighborhood that we want. And then, of course, the ongoing interest in maintaining property values in our community and enhancing quality of life, so that this community continues to be a place that people want to live. And so, again, safe streets, safe routes for kids to get to and from school, to and from the park, to and from their friend's house, that goes a long way towards meeting those goals. So all of these things sort of coalesced, came together to speak to the need for a comprehensive approach, because these are not trivial problems. So that's when Safe Routes to School came in. So a little bit about what Safe Routes to School is. So Safe Routes as a concept began in Denmark in the 1970s, and it spread to the United States in the 90s. I think New York and Florida were some of the first states to have Safe Routes to School programs. Since that time, Safe Routes has spread nationwide, and it has both state and national programs across the board. The program essentially has two overarching goals, and that is first to encourage more children and families to walk and bike to school. So I've got this stat here. In 1969, nearly 50% of all children in the United States and nearly 90% of anyone living within a mile of the school walked or biked to school. And today it's fewer than 15%. So that very crude map up there is just as the crow flies 1 mile radius around Cypress. So Cypress, you see in the middle there in yellow. So it's actually a huge, huge area that's within that 1 mile zone. And then the second overarching goal of the program is to improve the safety conditions of the routes that children take to get to and from school. So the Safe Routes to School program is comprehensive in its scope and in its approach. And the program itself is defined within a Safe Routes to School planning document. So it achieves that sort of comprehensive nature by approaching the problem with what they call the 6 E's. So education, so teaching families about pedestrian and bike safety, as well as the benefits of walking and biking. Encouragement strategies to increase walking and biking through events or activities or contests or programs. Engineering, which is sort of the most obvious one that people think of, so physical improvements to make walking and biking safer and more comfortable and convenient for people. Enforcement, mitigating unsafe behavior and encouraging safe habits, and that's not just for drivers but also for pedestrians and bicyclists as well. Equity, and this is to ensure that any of the outcomes of the programs that are implemented are having positive effects for all groups, and that includes students of all income levels, races, and abilities. And then lastly, and this is actually a really important one, so I kind of want to emphasize it, and that is evaluation. So this is assessing the success and equitability of the different approaches. So a Safe Routes to School program is sort of, it's not something you write the plan and you implement it and that's the end of the story. It's designed to sort of evolve over time. It's designed so that people can constantly sort of evaluate how well the program is, the various programs that are being implemented are working, and go back and make adjustments accordingly. So, what are the benefits of taking a Safe Routes to School program approach versus addressing these issues in another way? So, as we just said, it is an opportunity to address the problem comprehensively and iteratively, and by that I mean we can attack it from all angles and have an opportunity to have the baseline data to go back and figure out what's working and what's not. It provides an opportunity for collaboration with a diversity of partners, and I'll talk more about the partners for this project in a minute, but that is a really important piece of this. You're not going to have a successful Safe Routes to School program unless you have all the people in the room who have an impact on achieving the two goals of the project. And so the ability to establish deeper and better collaborative relationships with partners has benefits that go beyond just this project itself. A Safe Routes to School program and planning process relies on significant community involvement. So this is really a community-wide effort. We're not gonna get things right if we don't tap into all of the different users of these systems and understand from the community's perspective where the problems lie, what are the root causes of the problems, what are the barriers that exist for parents allowing their children to walk and bike, for children wanting to walk and bike themselves. And this photo is just an example of just one of a gazillion different strategies that was implemented by a school in Arizona. It's a simple concept, a waiting area and sandbag line at an elementary school to kind of provide a safer place for kids to wait away from the traffic so they're not hanging out in traffic while they're waiting to cross the street. Continuing with the benefits of a Safe Routes to School program approach. There are a huge number of resources to tap into to prepare a Safe Routes to School program. So no one's having to reinvent the wheel here. I would argue there's almost too many resources, both from the United States and from other countries as well. It's overwhelming. So we have all of those things. We're not trying to invent our own program. And while every single Safe Routes to School program and plan looks a little bit different, we do have sort of those commonalities to help guide us. As far as we've been able to tell, Cypress, I think, is the first and only school in Leander ISD to pursue a Safe Routes to School program. It's not the first in the area, in the region. Austin has a program. There are various others in Williamson and Travis County. But as far as we've been able to tell, within Leander ISD, Cypress would be the first. And so we're certainly not the only attendance area that is dealing with these issues. And so the hope is that we can sort of lead by example, and other schools in the district will follow suit. Next is leverage. Having a program and plan in place allows us to justify and compel safety improvements and other things, because you've taken the time to assemble the data, you've taken the time to think through with all of the experts in the room the various ways to tackle these problems, and that goes a long way in actually allowing you to get things done. And so with that is funding. So Safe Routes to School, having a plan, gives you access to a whole lot of different funding sources that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. So that includes federal surface transportation programs, congestion mitigation and air quality, recreational trail program. It includes the state Safe Routes to School program. It includes environmental funds, health and physical activity funds, sometimes county and city funding, and then, of course, private funding as well, philanthropic and nonprofit organizations. So, again, having a plan in place is going to open up a lot of doors to actually being able to implement some of the things that we'd really love to see in our community. And this photo I just love. It is a town in Germany where the children were able to help design the safety improvements around their school. And even though I chose this picture and it's not in our country, there are a lot of examples actually in the United States today and in Texas, so not just in like California or New England. There are examples in Texas of communities that are using asphalt art and things like this to mitigate traffic and help with safety. So, what are the benefits of an effective Safe Routes to School program? If the program is achieving its goals, what does that do for our children, first of all? It is increased activity from walking and or biking, and improved health associated with that. Studies show that children who walk and bike to school have improved focus and academic success. It improves equity and inclusion for all kids to be able to get to school safely. It's time for kids to have social interaction both before and after school. For children to have increased autonomy and independence, they're getting themselves from A to B. It's improved mental health both because of the physical activity, the social interaction, and just the fact that they're spending time outside under the sky, breathing fresh air. And then, of course, this has implications that go beyond just the walk to and from school. Having safer streets is going to result in a safer environment for children to play and grow in our community 24/7. It doesn't matter if you have kids who attend Cypress or not. It's just going to generally make for a safer community for our children to play. So there's this notion that if you design a community for children and for seniors, then you are going to have designed a community that is wonderful for everybody. And so even if you don't have children at all, even if you don't have children who attend Cypress, the benefits, I think the benefits to our community as a whole will be significant. So for our community, an effective Safe Routes to School program will result in decreased traffic and associated vehicle emissions. And so a national statistic associated with that is that during the morning commute, driving kids to and from school represents 10 to 14% of traffic on the road.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's also going to provide a safer and more comfortable environment for everyone who lives in the community. It increases chance meeting of neighbors. It makes for a place that people want to get out and walk around and be. It builds and promotes a healthy and active culture in our community, which are things that both City of Cedar Park and City of Austin love to promote, and we are right in there with them. It is a more equitable and inclusive environment for everyone who lives in the community, and overall just contributes to improved quality of life. We talked about those key partners, and so in this phase of the process that we're in, our goal is to really assemble this broad coalition of people who can weigh in on the project and be involved in various ways. So we obviously, with Leander ISD, our transportation director, and we're going to be looking at what other staff members might be interested in being involved. Cypress principal, our principal is here tonight, Kristen Alex, Cypress. Teachers, we have some teachers on board, and I have no doubt that a lot of our teachers at Cypress will be interested in being involved in this project. Our physical education teacher, special education nurse, counselor, PTA, and then of course our site-based committee. And then governments, and we are in such a bizarre attendance area with Cypress. We have both Travis County and Williamson County. We pull from the City of Cedar Park. We have obviously WTCMUD1, and then sort of on the periphery we have the Bella Vista Mud. And I don't think I'm missing anybody, but if I am, let me know. And then law enforcement, our constables and City of Cedar Park Police Department, our neighborhood associations and HOAs, because they have the capacity to work more intimately with their residents. So the Andersonville West Neighborhood Association, Twin Creeks HOA, Valente Hills HOA, Bella Vista HOA, Cypress Creek HOA, so there's a lot of those. And then our other stakeholders, which are just as important as everyone else here, and that is, of course, all of our residents of the community. Students, we really want to get students involved in this project, because if you ask a student why or why not they want to walk or bike to school, you're going to get a whole lot of different answers than you would get talking to an adult. And then lastly, any interest groups or experts that may be able to add value to the process. So experts in health, public health, bike safety, and disabilities. And so far, we've done a pretty good job at getting people on board. We have, I think, our transportation director with Leander ISD on board. Obviously, our principal, teachers. PTA, the PTA president was supposed to be here tonight, and her husband ran into traffic, so she couldn't make it. But PTA is going to be really critical in this process. And then obviously our site-based committee. We've been in touch with both Travis County and Williamson County and their public works departments, and they have been awesome. And they're going to be really valuable to us because they have worked with other communities in their respective counties on Safe Routes to School projects. So they've done this before, we haven't, and they can really help us along the way. The one that we're having difficulty getting through to is City of Cedar Park, but I'm confident we can eventually get there. And then obviously you all here tonight, and I still need to reach out to Bella Vista Mud. I've talked to our constable Robert. He's very on board with getting involved. The Anderson West Neighborhood Association, Valente Hills, we have the vice president of Valente Hills HOA here tonight. So I don't know if you all have met her, but this is Karen Wallace. And she's very concerned about her kids losing bus service. And so then we're doing the work to reach out to residents. We're trying to get already just on the periphery of getting students involved. My daughter's Girl Scout troop is creating a video to tell children why they should walk and bike to school. So that's going to be interesting. What's the process going to look like? So again, we're super early, but our preliminary steps are to assemble a coalition of partners, get the word out and generate support. And then one of the things that we need to do sort of immediately follow this meeting is to develop a more detailed process timeline and figure out exactly how we're going to go about writing this plan and developing this program. And this spring, we may look into, it's very common with Safe Routes to School processes to have a sort of major kickoff event to get the word out to the community. And that could be a Walk to Bike to School Day event, walking competitions for the classrooms. This photo is what's called a walking school bus. And you don't have to have the super cute little cardboard cutout to do it, but the concept is that instead of bus stops, you have walker stops or biker stops, and you have adults who are willing to volunteer to be sort of the bus driver and help get all the kids to school. And parents feel safer having their kids walk, knowing that they're walking with a whole bunch of kids and with some responsible adults. And then another thing that another resident brought up interest in that could sort of dovetail with this process is interest in a neighborhood walk-run sort of event, whether it be 5K or just something a little bit less formal. Overall, the process will probably have two main phases, a data collection phase, and this is really critical because this is how we evaluate the program in the future. One of the ways we can do this is through something called walk audits, and this can be applied to a lot of situations. The issue of our sidewalk maintenance, for example, which also relates to this, and it's where you actually go out with volunteers and you walk the actual routes that kids will take to get to and from school. You can do this with adults, you can do it with children, and it helps you actually pinpoint all of the issues that you see along the way, the crosswalks that are faded, whatever the barriers may be. We'll have, parent surveys to try to figure out baseline data on who is walking and biking to school now, looking at traffic stats, and a whole bunch of different strategies to sort of understand where we are now and what are the root causes of the problem. And then phase 2 is program development. We'll probably have committees of people who can develop a program for each of those 6 E's we talked about earlier, and then the plan preparation. And then, of course, ongoing, there's implementation and evaluation of the plan. So just to kind of wrap up with a few key points, so how much will this cost and who's paying for it? The really awesome question, or answer to that question is nothing. This isn't costing anyone anything. Preparing the program and writing the plan, it's being done entirely by volunteers and people who are doing it as part of their current job description. There may be discrete costs associated with things like, if we need to print out materials for data collection or whatever, but I don't expect those to be too onerous, and I'm confident we can figure out a way as a community to get the money we need to print some things out. Of course, once the program is in place, the program implementation costs will vary hugely from programs that are $0 and 0 cents to thousands of dollars. But with that comes a variety of different funding sources for those different strategies. And this is just this adorable not a bike rack, a scooter rack. One of the things that we need to consider is that when we talk about bikers, we're not just talking about bikers today. A lot of kids ride scooters or some other wheeled ride-on device. My kids prefer scooters. So how do we accommodate that? We have bike racks at Cypress, but maybe we need some place for kids to store their other wheeled vehicles. why am I talking to you tonight, and what am I asking you to do? First of all, we would, as we try to wrap up building all of our partnerships, we would love any help that you can offer in helping us get in touch with the City of Cedar Park, for example. You may have connections as elected officials that and be able to get through to people in a way that I won't be able to, and to kind of lend validity to the project. I am hopeful that there will be a couple of you who will provide consistent representation throughout the process, both in the data collection phase and then also in the program development phase. And then lastly, you all have a huge role in implementation, despite the fact that the counties do the road maintenance and whatnot. There are a lot of ways that the school is physically within our MUD. And so I have an example here. So this is Anderson Mills Park. And you can see there in both photos the recreation trail that loops around the park. And the trail's made of crushed granite. And that has its advantages, certainly. But if you look in the left photo there, for example, that piece of the trail is actually the connection between this sidewalk up closer to Old Mill and the actual Cypress campus. And so if you're thinking about all of the various users who are going to be using that connection to get to the school, how does that work for all of those users? So somebody in a wheelchair possibly could ride on that, but it's harder. A scooter is not really going to ride over that very well. So this is just one example. I'm not saying that this should happen. I'm just giving it as an example of the role that the MUD plays. Should that segment be paved or asphalted to make it usable for all users who are using it to get to and from school? So it's a mobility issue rather than just a recreation park issue. And then lastly, how can residents stay connected to the process? So at this phase of the process, if you have a Facebook account, probably the easiest way to stay up to date on what's going on is to join the private group Safe Routes to School Cypress Elementary. If you don't have Facebook, I'm trying really hard to cross-post things like updates to the process to Nextdoor. We do have an email address, cypresssaferoutes@gmail.com. You can reach out to us there anytime with questions or if you want to get involved. And then as we sort of move through this process of developing a more detailed planning process, we'll also be looking at how we reach more people and get more people, pull more people into the process, developing an email list and some sort of public outreach and participation plan component that goes into the overall planning process. Resources and references, if you're interested in learning more or looking at stuff that was referenced in this presentation, the National Center for Safe Routes to School and the Safe Routes to School Guide are very helpful. Safe Routes Partnership is an excellent website and resource for a ton of different information about Safe Routes to School. The Safe Routes Texas Program Guidance, which is available from the Texas Department of Transportation, it is online, it tells you what needs to be in a Safe Routes to School plan in Texas in order to access state funding for Safe Routes to School. So that'll be an important guide for us. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is also good for more federal information on Safe Routes to School and statistics on pedestrian safety and so forth. That's it for me. Thank you for giving me so much of your time. And I am certainly available to take any questions or comments.
Yeah, I have some questions.
Yeah.
Clearly, we can post on our MUD website some appropriate description and links. And I'm sure you're already thinking about that.
Yeah.
So my question is, a lot of the links you show up here, can we get a link to put on the MUD website that would direct people to some of these sites? And can you help us do that?
Yeah, absolutely. My hope is that I will post the link both to this slideshow just by itself, and then also once it's available on the MUD website, the video recording of this presentation so that people can watch it if they couldn't be here tonight. And I will also send you links for places where people can get more information.
And the other thing that occurs to me is that if you're going to have any meetings to organize these various steps, if you let us know, we could put that on the website also,
Okay,
as far as getting public announcement out.
that would be helpful.
And then the other question would be, Christie, is if we get to the point where this thing starts to move, we could probably put a flyer in with the water bills
That'd be great.
to direct people.
That would
And
be
we just need
wonderful.
to get you to move us in that direction when
Okay.
it's appropriate.
Okay. Yeah, I will definitely.
And you
do
can
that.
stay in touch with these two ladies here
Okay,
for that.
wonderful.
So does Linda Hills still have a bus?
We do
Okay.
now, but they're, with the new matrix, we will lose it next year.
Oh,
So what'll happen when you lose it? Does that mean there will be crossing guards at Anderson?
there's
They
no
want
crossing
us
guards.
they want to put a crossing guard at Dice Ranch, to cross over Anderson Mill. So they want our kids specifically and the kids, in Bella Vista to walk up Dice Ranch on that sidewalk on the other side of the street. So crossing Dice Ranch, which is
No, it's
not lighted at
ridiculous.
all,
Oh, yeah, that's even worse.
to go up to Anderson Mill, and they want to put a crossing right there. And it's
The crossing guard would be where?
at Dice Ranch, crossing Anderson Mill. It's the most ridiculous thing.
That's an awful intersection.
Yes. Anything crossing Anderson Mill, I'm afraid to cross in my car. You know, I poke my nose out of my car out and look both ways before I go, because even though that light has been there for a couple of years, people blow through it all the time. Not to mention the time that our kids are going to school, it's high traffic.
And is that a done deal, or is there any appeal being submitted to the board?
There have been a lot of conversations, and there are a group of participants that we have gotten together and addressed Leander ISD specifically about this. That was the original contact that we made to them was what made them reevaluate the matrix, because they had an outdated matrix last year that was ridiculous. So they updated the matrix this year, and based on the results of that matrix, we will lose our service next year, but we're currently fighting that as well.
Well,
Because,
if-
I mean, I would not let my child cross that road.
If you wind up organizing a group to make a presentation to the LISD board at a board meeting, if you'll let us know, we could possibly get people to attend also and testify.
That'd be great, yeah. I know that there have been parents that have shown up at LIC board meetings to address it. Last year when they originally said they were gonna take it away, I mean, we filled it up. We filled up the room.
What I've found from similar programs in the past is that testifying at a board meeting is important, but what's even more important is talking to individual board members before the meeting and trying to get them to make some kind of a commitment apart from the board meetings. And that takes some effort to organize.
I know LIC also has, I think they call them coffee chats or something like that, or informal meetings where the board members will show up and you can speak to them, and I know that parents have spoken at those as well. We have a lot of people that are pretty upset by these rulings, and this will be, I believe, the third year that we fought it. I have a fifth grader and a first grader that say this, and so they've already taken away the middle school bus, and the middle school is 2 miles away from our neighborhood. But there's nothing we can do about that. But I mean, I will not allow my first grader going into second grade next year to walk to school. Not a chance.
So would,
Or bike or anything.
Yeah, and the thing you have to think about too is so that's awful. And then if you get rid of the bus service, those parents are not gonna let their kids cross that street. So they're all gonna individually drive their kids. So that's gonna put more traffic and more congestion on the streets.
and also disrupt work schedules
Park
for
Forest,
people,
disrupt.
for parents.
Right, but in terms of making things safe for our kids, you're adding more traffic to,
Yeah.
I live on London Lane, which is where everyone will cross through. So it then even becomes even less safe for the kids who do live on that side of Anderson Hill. So it's right, that are already walking or that could be walking.
Megan, I'm sure you said it earlier, but how old is this program?
So Safe Routes to School came to the States in the 90s.
And has there been anything other than this, or what has been acting in its place until now?
In our community?
Yeah.
So there's a hazardous routes the school has used to determine which routes are hazardous.
Okay.
But until Megan brought this to our attention, she said, what is our safe route to schools?
Yeah.
It hasn't been brought to the district.
Yeah, and I'm just, like the seatbelt and the headrest, we didn't have those, and it didn't mean it was safe until, it all of a sudden it became unsafe, but I'm just curious that we haven't done anything until now, and this has been around since the 90s. Also, I'm curious, there was some program where residents have volunteered to stick something up in the window of their house to say, I'm a safe house if something happens to you on the way. Have you ever heard of that?
I remember that when I was in elementary school
Right,
in the
right. And I'm
70s.
wondering,
Yes.
is this part of that? Is that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, it could be, it could be something
Sure.
else. If
Yeah.
we could get that group, because that was active for a while.
Okay.
People, there's a strange, whoever's got a van, I apologize. There's a white van following me home, and I need to go somewhere, and knowing that there's somebody on the way home that you could stop and knock on the door,
Yeah.
and this would go along with this
Yeah.
program. It seems like also.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of the project, of the program. It's kind of this approach from all different angles. So,
Catherine,
sure.
I suggest that we appoint someone as the contact person for
Okay.
this program, and also try to think about what committee we should assign it to.
Okay.
But I think we should leave here tonight with understanding of the contact persons, and whoever's the contact person on the board should also be CC'd, these two ladies.
Okay.
Okay. Does somebody want to volunteer to take that on?
Well, until a month ago, I had a granddaughter that went to Cyprus. They moved, so.
Information committee, maybe? Jana and Lewis?
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Information committee?
And I was just going to ask, is the whole reason for Leander ISD attacking your bus service, is that totally a cost thing?
Yes.
Okay.
It is, and I really have a feeling that I was a part of getting the air conditioning units put on the bus as well, and I really have a feeling that the money that was funneled towards that project made them take a harder look at the availability and cost of the buses as well.
Okay.
I really feel that those two things are close to
You think you're being punished? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think that I'm being punished, but I think that
One was a consequence of the other.
definitely, like, okay, so you need this money for the air conditioning units, well, now you can't have your bus anymore. I don't think that there's nothing directly written
Okay.
anywhere, but it's awfully
Okay.
Janet,
personal opinion.
Yeah.
Janet's not here, but
Yeah.
It's
I'm
just,
sure she's
like y'all said
comfortable.
earlier,
Yeah.
I mean, like Megan said, I mean, anybody says that you want a child to cross over Anderson Mill, and everybody just kind of like, are you kidding me? But these adults who want to deem our route safe, to cross over Anderson Mill, we've even said, well, why don't you come walk it yourself at 7:30?
Yes.
We'll see how safe it is.
Determined.
And nobody's done that. Not
Yeah.
one person has come to actually walk the route themselves.
Well, and I think that if we can get the data collection phase of this project moving, that's going to be data we can also use towards making the case for that meeting.
Before we wind up, I want to point out one other thing. You're the principal,
Yes, sir.
and I think you mentioned that it was Megan who brought this program to your attention. Megan's a remarkably resourceful and creative person in this community, and I'm not surprised that she's the person that brought it to your attention, and that's wonderful, Megan.
Well, we're
Thank
thankful
you.
for her. Thank you. Well, Kristen she was gung ho right from the beginning. She was like, yes, I love that we're
Yeah.
doing this, so.
Okay. So, do we have anything else that we need to finish up then? Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to take a 5-minute break, and then we will move on to agenda item 6.
Yeah, that's a quarterly report that I provide y'all every 3 months. That's October 1st through December 31st. And you'll notice the redacted calls are calls that are in Shenandoah or in Austin. There were a total of 51 calls. Of those calls, 23 have unknown addresses, whether they're in the mud or not in the mud. That's because they're either CPS or Adult Protective Services.
Are those the ones that just say Cedar?
Yeah, if they just say Cedar or they don't have anything, they either have Cedar Park or
Okay.
there's.
How does this compare to previous quarters?
It's a little bit more busier. I'm gonna break it all down.
Okay.
Of those 23 unknown, 14 of those were CPS cases. There were 5 offense reports. 2 of those were drug related. 3 of them were drug related. 1 sexual assault and 1 injury to an elderly, and then 1 mental disorder. Those are those 23 reports. There were 28 calls that had addresses in the mud. Of those, 21 of them were offensive reports where a criminal offense occurred. 11 of those were thefts, 2 burglary of vehicles, 1 burglary of a building, and 3 credit card abuse cases. Then there were 5 assault cases, 2 alcohol-related cases. 1 was a PI and 1 was a DWI. Then there were 2 leaving the scene collisions. There were 1 interference with child custody, 1 criminal trespass, and 1 missing person, and then 3 informational reports. So there was 1, 2, 5, 6. There were 5 theft cases.
5 what cases?
Theft.
That could be car or house.
No, that's just theft of property. Where they didn't break into something.
Like off the lawn or something.
Something. It could be any type of fraud, like the one on the first page on Courtney Lane. Don't know what that is, but it is a substantial.
Yeah, I know,
theft.
and it's like, there's nothing that you could walk away with in my house that, unless you were driving a car away, that would be,
I don't know what that is.
yeah.
And when you have missing person adult, is that kind of thing comes up every now and then? Is that usually an elderly person?
No, it could be any
It could be anything.
adult that goes missing after 24 or 48 hours.
And
they can
somebody's
report
just has just made it a
Yeah.
report.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about elderly people with dementia.
Other than that, we've been pretty slow. I will tell you that I know we're going to add probably 1 more deputy from our office and possibly 2 to the patrol. So there could be 5 or 6 of us working instead of
All right.
4.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You don't, Kevin, you don't have anything in here about traffic offenses?
No, I don't pull that
Okay.
from the sheriff's department. I can, but it's going to be fairly take Matt a pretty good while to pull that kind of report. All these are where they generated a case number.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 7, report from the district manager.
It looks much more user-friendly than the past.
Yeah, so if there's any approval items, they're gonna be up at the top in the column, and then the rest is information.
Can I ask you a question about that first one? The Sunscape?
Yes,
Is that a recommendation from the Parks Committee?
it is.
It is? Okay, and we've got it in budget. Should we get a motion from you, the Parks Committee right now?
Yeah, so just to.
Explain maybe?
Right, so to explain what it is we had budgeted for tree replacement because we'd had trees that had died in Hatch Pond, in Sun Chase Park. And so that's what this budget item was about, and we, at our last Parks Committee meeting, we met with Sunscape, and we talked about where the trees were died. The desire was to add a couple more trees at this park in order to create more shade. And then he was very helpful at making recommendations for the Valente Hills Park because an awful lot of the space on the other side of the park in Valente Hills, it used to be a great big green space. It has now been bulldozed down, and something is
That's
being.
along Dees Ranch Road, or what?
It's where the sidewalk is.
Oh, where the
No,
sidewalk.
no. This is,
Anderson Mill, and that's into Anderson Mill, doesn't it?
The pond. Are you talking about the pond or the?
No, Anderson Mill Road. The Valente Hills Park, the tiny park.
Oh, the land. It's not in the mud. The
yeah, it's
land-
not in the mud,
The
right?
land is being developed.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
okay.
at the corner of Anderson Mill and Dees Ranch.
Right.
It's like an office park.
Is that what it's
Small
going to
one,
be?
yeah.
So there used to be, this great big green space, right next to the park. Now it is going to be a great big office
Shopping
park.
mall.
So the idea was to plant something along, in the park as a way to try to balance out and
And we
create.
wanted to do that anyway instead of putting the canopy.
Right, and so that's what this is all about.
Can
So he
I
was-
tag on to the tree that was stolen at Stavia Ridge Pond, the dog pond? That one needs to be replaced too.
Oh, we didn't.
There was a tree that was stolen?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
It was a shrub or something.
Well, it was newly planted, so it was easy to pull out of the ground.
Yep.
Okay.
So, a question, we've been instituting a practice when we put trees in, we put a drip irrigation, a sprinkler system. Are we doing that with these replacements?
Well, the only place right now, if we're planting here, there's already irrigation here.
Yes.
There's irrigation.
I was thinking about the Valente,
Well, Valente
We
is
don't
no,
have
we
it
don't
there.
have irrigation at Valente, but what we're planting is.
The pond they do. The fact
Yes.
they had a drip
Yeah.
irrigation with it.
but the pocket park,
Oh, not the
you don't
pond.
have it there. So what you might want to do is to come up with a budget committee item to put it in there.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
the other question I have is that I think we lost some trees because we did an inadequate job of running the sprinkler system. And what makes it complicated is that the sprinkler system is designed to only be run when we get into these little droughts or big droughts. And so somebody has to stay on top of that and
Right.
run those. And it's not clear to me, Christie, is it Sunscape's responsibility?
It's Sunscapes, and we did talk to them at the Parks Committee meeting about that. They've gone and done a complete survey of all the irrigation areas. I think when the baton was passed from the previous landscaper to Sunscapes, that area was not on their radar.
Yeah.
And since, obviously, they have found it, and so
Yeah.
they do a test of that irrigation system every month. They do a one
And
and verify.
they're taking responsibility for replacing the trees that were lost.
Yes,
Oh, they are?
Yes.
on their
Okay.
own dime.
So
Yeah.
one of the things I suggest we do is that we ask them to give us a report of when they turn on the sprinkler because the weather mandates it. Because it's going to be an irregular thing, and the guys that are saying now they're going to do it, they may have somebody else in charge if we get into a drought. So I think we need to have some kind of a tickle file at your end, asking
A
them to,
monthly report from them.
yes,
Of the irrigation inspection.
irrigation inspection and use.
Okay,
You
so.
want to make a motion?
Yeah, so I'm gonna make a motion because we sat down and we discussed, what we wanted to put, what to buy and where to put it. And so I move that we approve the Sunscape, was it a bid? Is that what it was? Proposal, in the amount of $10,657.03.
And I'll second that.
Okay. So,
This is work that has not yet been done.
no, this hasn't been
Right.
working, and we need to, we're coming up to the tree planting phase of the year very quickly here.
And this is in addition to the trees that they're replacing at their own cost where they died.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, and the trees that I'm aware of that died were the ones around the Little Elm Pond.
I think some at Madeline Loop Pond. There was a couple there that went for that reason,
Okay.
but I can't be sure.
Okay. I just remembered it was Little Elm, wasn't it, that we talked about?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so do we have any more discussion?
Okay, yeah, does that mean that we're going to find out where they're replacing trees that were lost so we can get a report back on?
I'll get you a report.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'd like to compare that report to what I'm seeing when I'm out there.
Okay. Okay, so any more discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Oh, and just as another aside, one of the things that was brought to our attention when we were talking in the Parks Committee is something's happened at the Anderson Mill West Park, which is, and we've got large trees that are just up and dying. Live oaks that are dying.
Is it possible oak wilt?
No, it's not oak wilt.
There might
And
be something in the
Thank
soil,
God.
so they're gonna test the soil.
so we're doing soil testing. The concern is that something has been dumped because this is not drought stress or something like this. This is something different, but it's not oak wilt.
It's almost like it was burned. I mean, it looks kind of burned looking. Not like the sun, but like with a chemical burn.
Oh, okay. So hopefully we'll have it is because we were looking at some very large trees or a very large grouping of trees that have, that are dying and he doesn't think they're gonna recover. So, yeah. Okay, keep going.
All right, so item 1 is the distribution and billing system. So we're starting the meter change-out process this month. We currently have 48 meters that are over 2 million gallons, so those will be on the schedule to be changed out. The meters that we're changing out are with the AMI meters. However, endpoints, antennas will not be installed, as I had discussed when Herb was here in his report. Item 1B, required water test samples. We're all in compliance for the month of December, so no issues there. And also all the water flushing was completed for the month of September. And Herb mentioned this one as well, valve and fire hydrant survey. We anticipate to start up by the end of the month. It's been delayed a bit just to determine which GPS tool we're going to use for the CAD system. And I think we've narrowed it down to it's going to be the Trimble device, and that's going to require us to purchase one.
Can we stop for a minute? I believe earlier in the meeting that during the public comment period there was a criticism of our having bought 50 water meters. And I'd like for you to point out that those meters are being used for our long-standing program of replacing meters that age out.
This is something that we've done
We've been doing it for years.
Yes.
Thank you.
Water accountability, we mentioned that as well. In the engineering report, we're at 97%, so we're back on plan target. And item F is just for your information, between turn-on, disconnects, transfers of service, just for the month of December, we performed 103. So just to give you an idea of just the customer service part of that.
That seems high. Isn't it high?
It's pretty consistent.
Really? Okay.
126.
On the collection system, the picture that you have in your packet here, that is item 2A, 1300 Brighton Bend. Customer called in with the sewer backup. We went in, televised the line. We found a separation on the tap. We also had roots in the line. So the excavation actually started on the 14th, and they wrapped it up today.
So, but this was on our side?
Yes. It was
Really?
in the tap.
Okay, wow.
Was there sewage contamination in the house?
No.
Okay.
All right, lift station at Hatch, we replaced disconnect.
When you use the word disconnect, is that an electrical
It's electrical disconnect, yes.
Electrical disconnect.
And
Okay.
it was corroded, and this was something that we pointed out during our PM program. our electrical scan. We're also going to be scheduling a meeting with Herb on site to review the condition of the dry well at that lift station. And we'll come back to the infrastructure committee with any findings and recommendations possibly of looking at switching that dry well to a wet well. The televising of the collection system is still on schedule to start in March. It may actually begin a little bit earlier, and we have notification that we'll send out to the residents prior to. And item number 3 is on the drainage ponds. Monthly reports were completed for December, and no major issues were noted. However, we did have some graffiti at Sunchase. It's been removed. The picture didn't make it in the packet, but it was some really vulgar language. But
Really?
we got it removed
And
within a few
pictures.
days.
And pictures.
Are not in, they didn't make it.
They didn't make it in the packet.
Hey man, can we turn the cold air off?
You cold?
Yes, I'm cold. Don't you feel the draft?
You turn into an old lady?
I'm turning into an old lady, that's right.
All right, item 3C. We found a couple of storm sewer lids or stormwater lids that have been removed. And what we're doing is we've got a tack weld or a little piece of, I guess it's a metal, but to secure the lid so that there is no accidental entry into the storm
And if
sewer.
you have to get in, you just break the weld.
Yes, exactly.
We need to get the AC looked at because something's wrong with it.
Okay.
MS4 program is on schedule. We talked about that in the engineering report. And then item 4 really is a committee report on the parks. So we completed our inspection of all the parks and trails. No major issues are noted. Parks Committee met on the 8th, and we can either go through that now or later on in the agenda
Yeah,
when we
let's
get
go
to
ahead. We
committees.
can go through it, that's fine.
All right, so we already discussed the Sunscapes proposal for the tree planting and approved that. We do the Sunchase Playscape. We do have a elementary school that is interested, and so if the board would like to move forward, we would basically donate that Playscape to, it's the Buckholtz Elementary School. Doesn't have much funding ability, so their people would actually come out and dismantle it and take it and replace it over at their school.
Is the Parks Committee thinking about replacing it with something later?
Yes, we are. The plan is to, because it's sort of in its own state of disrepair, is to remove the playscape in Sunchase, and then we are going to come up with a different design for that space.
The reason I ask is that there often are children on it.
Yeah.
Right, but there's bigger parks down the road.
You mean it would be,
We're gonna,
you could,
we're thinking about doing something completely different, but we have to, we're doing some research right now.
okay.
Right, yeah.
You're gonna repurpose it?
Yes, we're repurposing the space, that's it exactly.
Yep.
Okay, so, and there's, and then there's maintenance issues with it. So, okay, so if we're gonna move forward with donating this, we have to do what in order to,
Do
we
we
have
need
to
a motion?
do we have to designate it as
Surplus?
surplus?
Is it in condition where it's
Put your-
not usable by somebody else?
Bill,
or is
your
it-
microphone.
I don't know the condition of the playscape and value.
It's
It's usable.
Okay, so
part of it. I mean, like the slide is, I don't think the slide is. I don't know, I don't know if I got some.
do we believe it has a value of $300 or more?
I think it's
Potentially.
gonna cost us more than $300 to repair it or remove it. How about that?
Well, typically what we've done, and when we had more, bigger park equipment project, we have an agenda item to declare it surplus. And after you declare it surplus, the board can vote on how they want to dispose of it, on terms, conditions, whatever those
Okay.
are. And you'll recall, we actually had an auction site for all the
Right,
old stuff before.
right.
And this is a very minor thing,
Right.
but we probably should still go through that process of declaring.
And that's
So
totally fine, so we'll
we
just,
put it on the next
yeah,
agenda.
we'll put it on the next agenda, that's fine.
Okay. All right, so at the Andersonville West Park, there's a punching bag class that's broken. So we're working to just do a modification to the class to get it back up there. Because,
$1,000.
yeah, the replacement came in at $4,000. So we'll figure something out to
Okay,
make
yeah,
that work.
Yeah,
We're also getting estimates to replace these 2 trash cans here at Lakeline. We're waiting on those to come in. And we just talked about item number 5.
okay, what's going on with the snail?
That's in here.
Okay.
Stand by.
Okay.
So we talked about item number 5, which is the cluster of trees that are in distress or taking soil samples. The committee also talked about if we do have to cut down those trees, which is looking that way, that we would actually take that area and convert the stumps into sculptures. There's a couple of artists, I guess, in the Austin area that can convert those stumps and turn them into nice sculptures.
Yeah,
And then we would repurpose the wood
above that stump level.
above that to possibly the Sun Chase Park for like a seating area
Oh, wonderful idea.
Yeah.
or benches or what have you, so just reuse it. So we're working on that. First step would be to surplus and get the playscape out and then design and figure out what we're going to do with that space. So the snail equipment's broken here at the Lakeline Oaks, and we're looking at alternatives. So we have a couple of estimates that are coming in. It's in the process, so as soon as we get those estimates and recommendations on something that is not a spring, because we're just not having good luck with those.
Maybe like something that they can balance on or something. I'm not sure.
Exactly.
We're
I think
talking
it's
about
Andersonville West Park.
Yeah.
It is, you're right.
Are we talking about a playscape?
Yeah,
It's a snail that you sit on and.
It's a spring.
and you rock back and forth on it, and the thing completely let go.
I thought
The
it was.
body.
I thought it was a pest control issue.
No.
Yeah, so we're working on getting some recommendations, and we'll send that to the Parks Committee, and hopefully at the next board meeting, we'll have some recommendations for you guys to consider for approval. The golf tee has been replaced. It was installed
Oh,
Tuesday.
What
I
is
think
that, a
yesterday.
repair or is
Yesterday.
that a new?
Sunchase kept driving over it with their
Mowers.
mowers, and all the rubber came off and it was down into the pond. And so we talked to Scott with Sunscapes about it, and he replaced it and he's going to tell his guys not to drive on it anymore.
Yeah.
Where is it located?
The first tee at Andersonville Park Pond.
Yeah, team number 1. I
There
sent them
was two of
beautiful.
Him driving with a lawnmower? Or
Yeah,
what?
they're running their great big. Yeah. I sent them
See the
beautiful.
tire tracks?
Yeah, I sent them beautiful pictures of their tire tracks on it. You know.
So are they gonna replace it at their
Yes,
club?
yeah, they're replacing it there. Yes, I mean I'll have to say, they are a good partner because they step up and it's like, man, we screwed up. They pay for it. They've been very.
Yeah, they're not perfect, but they make up for the mistakes.
Yes, they do. So I'm very happy with them from that point of view.
So
Okay.
item number 5 would actually be 23 on your agenda. I don't know if you want to hold off on that till we get to 23.
Sure, yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Hold.
Hold off. Yeah.
Okay, and then item number 6 would actually be item 25 on your agenda.
Let's hold off on that then.
Okay, perfect. So the last item that I have is we are requesting a special full board meeting to review the audit. So right now, the audit is in full swing. We're almost complete. But normally what we do is the Finance Budget Committee has a chance to review the preliminary audit prior to it coming to the board. So we're requesting, I think the deadline to submit the annual audit is February 13th. So we're asking for a special full board meeting for February 5th at 6 p.m. to review the audit.
Okay. And so everybody's agreed, is okay with that date?
Well, yeah.
Everybody put it on the calendar?
So just to clarify, that's February 5th, that's a Wednesday at 6 p.m. at this location. We'll put the annual audit on that agenda. Should we have any other items on that special meeting agenda. Chris and Lewis, you have in your audit committee items, you have the arbitrage
Right.
items. Would you think it'd be a good idea to include that on that agenda? Or just,
Yeah.
That's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
just those two things?
Right.
Okay.
So 6 o'clock on the 6th, okay, on my calendar.
No, on the 5th.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the 5th at 6 PM.
Right. And what we're going to have is a special agenda for the annual audit and the arbitrage items that are under 18B. Just those two items.
All right, and so moving on to page 9 is just a recap of the billing summary for the month of December. So 10,971,000,000 gallons we billed out, and the average consumption on the residential side was about 5,000 gallons per household. So the receivables, that equates to $206,000. And then following on the next page is just your 12-month graph showing the history by revenue category. And following on page 11 is your accounts receivable and collection report. And note that we had 9 disconnects this month, and I believe as of 2 days ago we had 2 that were still off, 1 house that was vacant, and 1 house.
That we're still waiting for payment on.
Yeah. All right, and then following on the next page is the good news, which is we're at the 97%. Now, please note that we took off the running annual average that you usually see on here. We found a formula error, so we weren't able to correct that prior to. So not giving bad data, I just took it out, and we'll have that full report for your annual running average in your next packet.
Okay.
And I will also be doing the financial reports. So that's it on the manager's report and operations, unless you guys have any questions.
Well, do we have anything, any checks that needed to be,
I do. I have them here.
they needed a third?
They will.
Okay.
Do you want me to move on to the bookkeeper's report?
Yes, please do. Okay, so with the, so agenda item, nope, we're still on 7, never mind.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right. So on your financial statements, if you will turn to page 3, you'll see there the tax collections report. And you'll notice that for December, we're 70% collected. That's $1.5 million that we've collected. And then following on the next page is your P&L, and this is through December. So for December, if you look at the revenue, you've got $1.3 million in income. The large portion of that is your tax collections at $1.1 million. So overall, over budget for the month, $110,000, and for the year, you're over budget to the good, $159,000 on your revenue.
Your over budget is almost equal to the property tax addition.
Correct.
Yeah,
It's all. It's exactly what it is.
yeah.
101 versus 110. So, then following on page 5, you'll see here the big item is that phase 3 improvements. GL account 9200 for detention pond improvements. And then at the bottom, total net income for the month, $993,000. Again, that goes back to your tax collections. And for the year, you're at $931,000.
So
So $214,000 to the good for the year to date.
is the property tax extra collection factored into the net income?
It is.
It is. So most of what we're seeing on the net income is due to the property tax.
Yeah, and exactly, you'll see that on page 6 on the graph. And how you look at your revenue for the year. You'll see December, the green line is your budget line. So we budgeted for that tax revenue in December, and then the remainder of it should be coming in January statements. So you'll see that December and January are the big revenue months. And then it should trickle back down to what your constant cash flow is coming in for the rest of the year. All right, and then the next page on 7 is just a review of your maintenance cap. December numbers did not make it into the packet, and I apologize for that. Lisa's been out for about a week and a half
Is she
with an
sick?
illness.
She's sick?
Yes. And then you've got your balance sheets following on page 8 and 9. You'll go over to your cash balance report on page 11. Just to make a quick note there, you'll see your interest earnings on your tax pool operating account for the month, $2,575, which is great. I think you've got a 1.6% investment rate on your tax pool account right now.
What's the rate of textbook?
1.6.
Oh, I'd like to have
That's good.
I'd like to have a savings account at 1.6. Wow.
And then just note at the bottom of that page, total district's funds is $3.9 million. And that includes your debt service and your capital projects fund. And on page 12 is just a recap of your investment activity. And here, please note that we've got everything pretty much moved out of CDs with the exception to that very bottom one with East-West Bank at 1.7% interest rate that matures July. And then following on page 13 is your trend charts. And then your operating fund balance review. And then your check register, and those checks are moving around for that third signature. And on here, I'll just point out a couple of things that are out of the ordinary is you've got TCQ, the regulatory assessment fees. That's an annual fee on your water system, so that's $6,246. And really, other than the Westar construction, those are the two items out of ordinary. And the bills and invoice
No supplement, right?
committee reviewed, yes. So they've reviewed these items and all the invoices in detail.
You said there's no supplement.
There is no supplement,
That's a first.
Yeah.
because Lisa's not here.
Should I motion to,
Yeah, you want to make the motion?
okay, everybody good with the cash receipt register?
Yes.
I make the motion to approve $318,815.70.
I second that.
Check register.
Okay. Any more discussions?
Who's second? Oh.
Jen.
All in favor? Okay. Okay.
We didn't look at the open records
Hold on.
expense on the last page, on 19.
Yeah, page 19. Okay, hold on, I'm almost there. Okay. Okay, so where are we?
Yes. So on page 19, October 17th through December, total cost, direct
Thank
cost and indirect cost,
Uh-huh.
it's $160,271.
Okay.
And that's for how long a period of time?
It's, from the beginning, October 2017, when we started really
Right.
tracking it.
Right, so,
October 17.
right, so it's a
2017.
little over 2 years.
Yeah.
So, Bill, off the top of your head, do you know how many outstanding requests we have right now?
I think we have 3 brand new ones from the other day.
Okay.
We have 3 new ones from the other day. They're not major requests. And I believe we're probably still working on about 3 or 4 other ones that are in progress.
Okay. I know that there was a discussion at some point as to whether or not we've had such a backlog as whether or not we were going to have to hire somebody. Are we going to talk about
That's
that later?
one that we deferred, that's in my report to agenda item.
Yeah, we have it on the
25.
agenda.
Okay, well, we'll take it in order then. Okay, so we can come back to this then to discuss it in more detail. Okay. Okay, so is that it then for the manager's report
Yes, ma'am.
and the financials?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's go on to item number 8, outline of concerns letter submitted by Sarah Teal on November 15, 2019. And so if everyone recalls, I put together an ad hoc committee of Jana and Art, who were going to review the letter in detail with Bill, and now you're here to give a response back to the board and any recommendations.
We prepared a document to facilitate the report, so I'm
Okay.
going to pass out copies. This document includes Ms. Teal's letter of concern and supplement, and the committee work recommendations, comments are in red.
Yeah, these two.
So I'm going to let the committee go and present. What I expect is a fairly detailed discussion of the issues, maybe some questions of board members, comments of their own, obviously, and then maybe at the end of the discussion we'll have maybe a list of action items or non-action items, depending on what the board wants to do.
Okay. The way this is going to work is I'm going to address the first three concerns by Mrs. Teal, and then Jana will address concerns 4 and 5. So I'll do 1, 2, and 3, and she'll do 4 and 5. As we heard earlier, Sarah Teal made or reiterated her 5 concerns to the MUD regarding various issues. We're going to go over them, and we reviewed them in detail, Jana and I, with Bill, and this is our review and recommendations. I'm going to just start off with concern 1 because she went over it earlier this evening, so we're pretty familiar with what the issue is. Improper finding and enforcement of Anderson Mill West ACC rulings. The ad hoc committee, after review with the legal counsel, understands that the letter written by an attorney on behalf of the unnamed clients is simply that attorney's opinion and is not binding on the district. The issue raised are both legal and factual in nature and would ultimately require determination by a court with jurisdiction. The district has received a letter dated October 14, 2019 from the president of the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association indicating that the Anderson Mill West ACC, due to threatened litigation, will make no new rulings until the authority of the Anderson Mill West ACC is confirmed. During that suspension, the Anderson Mill West areas in the district will have no ACC, which is very similar to the circumstances under Henrik Lane 2. Enforcement of the recorded deed restrictions can be continued, but the district in Anderson Mill West, continued by Anderson Mill, but the owners should not be compelled to receive ACC approvals since the ACC approval is not possible. If the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association decides to reactivate the ACC functions, the district's attorney should review any documents provided by Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association to support the reactivation and provide the board an opinion on such information. Historically, the district has not required evidence of every election or appointment of the ACC members or association board members and has accepted the representations of the ACC members and association boards that they were duly elected and appointed. In the case of Anderson Mill West ACC, the association has chosen to suspend functioning due to the threatened litigation, and therefore a review of supporting documentation by bill, the district attorney should be required when reactivation is proposed. As indicated above, after such review, the district's attorney should provide the board with an opinion, and at such time the board should decide what information on the issue should be placed on the district website. So that should address her concerns, her outcomes that she requested for this matter, for concern 1. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay. Concern 2, improper funding and use of district revenues discretionary fund, aka beautification fund. Again, based on Sarah Teal's concerns, the ad hoc committee reviewed this with the district attorney. The committee, after review with legal counsel, understands that historically there have been other board members who also serve as directors on association boards. Serving in both capacities is not prohibited by the state law. It is not a legal conflict of interest under state law. A person may voluntarily decide not to serve on an association board or ACC while serving as a director for the district, but the district cannot compel such persons to resign their association board or ACC position. The committee, after review with legal counsel, understands that any funds generated by fines are unrestricted and can be used by the district for any purpose. The committee recommends that use of beautification fund remain as established in the board resolution dated February 20th, 2019. All distributions of beautification funds require approval by the board, and all board members are given the opportunity to review the details on the proposed use of funds. Since such approvals are obtained, the committee does not see a need for an investigation related to the distribution of funds and does not agree that there has been some improper channeling of funds. So that should address the outcomes there that were requested. Concern number 3, improper use of district funds to mount a legal anti-transparency campaign through bias of the Texas the Texas Public Information Act. The committee, after review with the legal counsel, understands that the district has an obligation to process all requests for public records, but also must protect confidential and privileged information. Although the district did receive requests for open records prior to January 1st, 2018, the requests since that time have been more numerous and more extensive. They also have required more legal analysis and resulted in substantial costs. Because these requests are numerous and required frequent and detailed legal involvement, the board decided to hire special counsel. The committee believes that special counsel has provided significant and needed services to the district and should continue its work for the district. The report is subject to the pending litigation should not be released unless the court orders it released. The board of district voted to file the litigation to preserve the confidential and privileged information. Just because the district paid for the report with public funds does not justify its release. Due to the complexity of the information requests being received and the need for legal review of them, is not possible for an Infomark employee to process the request without involvement of the district's attorneys. To the extent that the Infomark employee can perform tasks related to records requests, the district should utilize that. Utilize that option. The committee agrees that the district should proceed to assemble records in a more easily and accessible format. This will take time and money since the district was created prior to electronic files. This committee recommends the board consider a budget item for the conversion of historic and future district records to electronic files that are organized and easily accessed. The process should necessarily include a plan for access to those files by the public. And with that, I'll yield to Janet for concerns 4 and 5.
Okay, concern number 4, violation of Open Meetings Act, locking quorum. Just because there is consensus on many votes of the board does not support any allegations of violations of the Open Meetings Act. Much work on details is done in committees, and this is appropriate and not in violation of state law. At a committee level, much more time can be devoted to looking at details and options. The board in many cases respects the work of the committees, but the committee has never observed any rubber stamping of committee recommendations. Except for the deed restriction committee, all committees are advisory only and have no authority to act on behalf of the board unless expressly authorized by a vote of the board. The committee does not support a review of all emails by a third party for compliance with the Open Records Act. The option of an online message board was considered in the past but not pursued. An online message board would need to comply with statutory requirements, which are Section 551.006 of the Government Code describes written electronic communications accessible to the public for which the district has supervision or control. Such communications are not to be considered a meeting or deliberation for purposes of the Open Meetings Act if the communication is in writing. The writing is posted to an online message board or similar internet application that is viewable and searchable by the public, and the communication is displayed in real time and displayed on the online message board or similar internet application for no less than 30 days after the communication is first posted. If the district removes a communication that has been posted for at least 30 days, the district must maintain the posting for 6 years under Chapter 552. An online message board would not be a suitable forum for confidential and privileged communications and is not a good substitute for phone calls. As such, the committee does not recommend use of an online message board. Let's see. Concern number 5, violation of Open Meetings Act. Closed committee meetings. Hold on one second. Wait, I got confused. Oh, hold on. Where is it?
It's at the back, it's at the bottom, page 10.
Okay, there it is. Okay, got it. Okay.
You have something on page 8?
Yeah, if you, Jan, if you go
Oh,
to
do
page
8 first?
8,
Yeah.
you'll see there's
That's right.
some references back to number 1, but in the middle of page 8 is
Okay.
comment.
See committee comments and recommendations in connection with concern 4 above. The committee does not agree that committees must meet in open session to create documents that will be recommended to the board or to develop recommendations regarding contractors. The committees do not make decisions for the board, but may make numerous decisions through research and advisement from the management company regarding what should be recommended to the board. Okay.
And there's also a recommendation in the next paragraph.
Right, sorry. The committee does not recommend making all committee meetings public or recording all committee meetings.
On number 10?
Yep. Okay, with respect to the Lakeline Oaks meeting, there was no violation of the Open Meetings Act as the board members that attended the meeting did not attend at the same time. Processing and editing of videos of the district meetings were discussed but not approved at the October 16, 2019 board meeting, wherein the video and audio equipment was approved. At the November 20th, 2019 board meeting, time stamping and summaries were discussed. A decision on the optional services was delayed to allow time to see the first video. The proposal was modified and later approved by the board if Director Zervigon implied that decision to use those optional services had been approved by the board before actual approval was given, he misspoke. The committee is assuming Director Zervigon meant to say that his committee would recommend approval to the board.
Any discussion on this?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Here.
Okay. Well,
Okay, where are we?
okay.
So I had a couple comments for
Sure.
the board. One is in these recommendations is recommendation to include a budget item for organizing, digitalizing district records. And that to do that properly is actually a pretty big project. And so at the committee, and I think probably the board would agree that that is appropriate to pursue that. In the past, that was not necessary. The district's been in existence for 34 years, so we have lots of paper records in the past. But going forward, we certainly could have a process that is more accessible than we have now. And so one of the recommendations is to pursue that. It doesn't mean you have to take action tonight, but it certainly should be part of your
But I
future
think what we can do
consideration.
tonight is we can decide which committee or which staff group should put together a proposal for doing that with a cost estimate and budget proposal.
Sure, you certainly can do that.
And we're talking about something moving forward. We're not talking about the task
The
of
historical.
going through all the 30 years of paper records.
Well, that should be something that's discussed, because there are some records that we have been assembling the minutes, the historical minutes. Some records really do lend themselves to that scanning organization from the past. Other records, they don't have that value. It's just the cost does not support getting those organized because they're never really accessed. So it's not going to be all district records.
Okay.
But some of the key records you may want to go and get the historical. But certainly going forward on almost all district records, we should have a program of organizing, and also that would include a system that we could keep in place and enforce that would separate records that are confidential or privileged from records that are clearly not confidential and privileged. And that's going to take some discipline and some procedures and everything. But when you guys have email communications, some of the communications are privileged, some of them aren't. Yeah, same thing as with all the records we have. So separating those is something we probably need to do. But again, we have to have a process. We have to follow that process and cost money and time.
So as I understand it, we're talking about two different processes. One is for going forward.
Correct.
And the other is looking backwards. Secondly, for going forward, what records are we talking about? For example, we've had open records requests for emails and text messages. So would that be included in the process?
It would be included. It'd be more than that. I mean, going forward, you would think every, obviously minutes, but every contract the board approves, every
Well, that
proposal.
part is obvious.
Yeah.
But in the past, we've talked about having records accessible to the public that relate to contracts and decisions made by the board, program decisions, budget decisions, but we have never discussed before having and collecting emails and text messages and having those on record to either release to the public or have available if there's a open record.
Right, and I think that's something that we need to look at.
Well, and I
whether
think part of the process of this is that we want to look at all those elements.
Yes.
And classify and say, okay, well, how are we going to address this? And what's the process for making it public? Some are going to be very difficult to do and it's going to require more time, like you said, and some are, okay, well, how do we approach it? So it's got to be an approach, a methodology, all kinds of things that are going to
You have to have storage space.
Yes.
So the natural question that then arises is that if we go through this process, included in that process would be determining what communication is privileged and what communication has to be protected to protect the anonymity of our residents.
and that would make it complicated. I think we do need to consider
But that would be part of the process. Okay, so what would flow from that is if we do that, then we would have already predetermined what material is privileged and what material has to be redacted. So that if we do this and then we get an open records request, we can then refer to the work already done to make that determination. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's the intent.
Can we make that determination though?
Well, this would be part of what we look into, see how difficult this is going to be, but I think it is an important.
That's part of it too.
It's an important part of the review as you process, because if we can establish the records going forward such that we separate them up front as to confidential or non-confidential, it's going to be a lot easier it'll be a lot cheaper to respond to records requests.
That's exactly where I was going with this, is that if we do this right, we'll be able to respond very quickly to open records requests and not have the urgency of doing it ad hoc when the request comes in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how do we begin the process of coming up with a program and budget for doing that?
That's a good question.
Do we look to the attorneys to define? Because there's a lot of the work.
I think a committee should work with the attorney to.
And what I'm thinking is a lot of the work that you do now on open records requests, you would do as a matter of course in connection with this program. That is determining what information is privileged and determining what information has to be redacted to protect the identity of our residents.
It's probably going to take some work to get the scope and the procedures together, but I would say if it's assigned to a committee, and the committee begins the process of, what's going to be the scope, how are we going to implement, what's the budget, then we could come back to the board with more details.
What do you think, Captain?
Yeah, I'm okay with moving that, but we're talking about, right now, all we're talking about is defining a committee, and then you're gonna come up with something for the next,
It's going to take a while to do this.
well,
In the meantime, we've got all the open records requests to deal with.
right,
I mean, hopefully this would reduce the future cost of
Right.
handling open records requests, but you would get there after enduring substantial costs in doing this.
right, exactly, right. So, okay, so to me, it sounds like where we should start is we should start with the technology committee. Isn't that the website?
Yeah, but I think Chris wants to be on the committee.
Yeah.
Do you want, you want to create should we create an ad hoc committee for this?
Yes.
Why don't we?
Do that for now, and then
Yeah.
later we may have a standing committee.
Okay, so do you want to do an ad hoc committee with Jana and Chris? Does that work?
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay,
that was me.
okay, and so what are we gonna call this? We're gonna call this the, is there record retention?
Public information.
Well, how about record modernization
There you
committee
go.
or something?
Okay, that's a
Record
modernization, okay.
Modernization or
Yeah.
monetization?
Okay, so I'm gonna create an ad hoc committee with Jenna and Chris, whose charge then is gonna be to work with Bill to, try to define the scope of work, and then we're gonna come up with a budget line for the next budget process.
That's what I was going to suggest, is we need to have a target here
Yeah.
to come up with something for the next
Yeah, well,
budget
it's gonna have
cycle.
to involve Infomark also.
Now,
Yes.
Yes.
will that be
Yes.
tangent with their part-time employee that they want to bring dedicated to?
Good question. I
No.
think they
Along with,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
but it's a separate issue.
Okay.
But I think
Okay.
it would be important to have something ready for the budget committee for the next cycle.
I agree.
Okay. Okay, so then, as part of this, then by the time we're getting to the budget cycle, then does that mean we're also gonna have a better understanding of what the process is gonna have to look like?
I hope so.
Okay,
Well, there are things like best practices
Okay.
out there where we should not be recreating the wheel.
okay,
So,
okay,
I mean, there are, how many MUDs in the state of Texas? Lewis?
yeah,
Well, at Texas Association of Water Boards, we got about 680.
Right,
But there are many that are not members.
right.
yeah,
So, but I mean, I'll bet you there's out there, quote unquote, a lot of
1,500.
best
1,800,
practices.
yeah.
okay,
We
okay.
should submit that question to Case and have somebody that,
Well, AWBD would be a better
Yeah.
person to submit it
So
to.
for last time I
Okay.
did a question, they never
Okay.
got to it.
I know.
Catherine, I had one other
Sure.
item if you'd
It's a
like.
good one.
Do we need a motion for any of this?
No, I don't think so, it's just committee work.
No, for now.
Passing out the current statute that relates to what's been referred to as walking quorum, rolling quorum, which is fundamentally different than having a meeting of 3 directors at the same time. And I just want to get it to everyone and also have some comments.
I believe that there's an online tutorial that new board members are obligated to take that addresses that issue also.
But something changed this year.
Well, when you become a board member, you have to take on open meeting and open records training on the AG site. It's a video. You've all done that. This particular statute, this version, is new. It was effective June 10, 2019. And prior to this version, there was a different version of the
So is
rolling
this
quorum, walking quorum provision
really new
that was deemed
It's thrown out.
too
by
vague
court.
to be constitutionally enforceable. The Criminal Court of Appeals threw it out, so the legislature came back with this version. So as far as time frame, anything prior to the effective date of this statute has been deemed unenforceable as far as a rolling quorum anyway. Now going forward, this is the law. And of course, it's a new law, and you don't have a lot of cases or interpretation of it. but I wanted to get the wording to you and describe it just generally. This is a process whereby you don't ever have more than 2 directors involved at the same time. So it's unlike, if 3 or 4 of you got together and discussed district business and wasn't opposed to meeting, you all know that's a violation of the meetings law. But if 2 of you get together and discuss business, and then that discussion is somehow relayed to another director and there's deliberation, and there's essentially a chain of communications, whether it's oral, written, and so forth, then you have a potential for violating this law. And you'll see the provisions and you can read them later, but it starts with the member commits an offense if, and it starts with knowingly, okay? And so if you're involved in a series of communications and you know that series of communications involve more than 2 of you, that should be a red flag right there. You shouldn't be engaging it, regardless of the rest of this wording here. So I think you ought to make yourself very familiar with this. If you have any questions at all, where you feel like you should or shouldn't be engaging that communication, I would say stop and then perhaps contact me for legal advice. But I did want to get the new law out there and kind of be available for questions either today or at other meetings if you have questions regarding the application of this law.
One of the things I'd like for you to address is that, as I recall, some of the discussion that wound up with the court decision involves a situation where persons A and B have a conversation. Person B takes that conversation to another board member unbeknownst to person A. And the word knowingly appears in here, and that would imply, I would infer from that knowingly is applicable to person B who took the information to a third party, but not to A who did not know that B was going to take it.
I believe that's correct interpretation of this current law.
And so the burden of proof to prosecute this, the burden of proof is to show that person A knowingly was in the position. And the reason that's important is that we find ourselves in situations where I can have a conversation with someone, but I don't control what that person is going to do. And I do not feel that I have to be responsible for guaranteeing that person will not pass on the information. They shouldn't, and they should know that they shouldn't, but I can't guarantee it.
And I believe under this new law, the circumstance you just described, the person that didn't know it would be passed along would not be guilty of the crime. Okay?
Well, the burden would be on anyone prosecuting the case to show that person A was knowing that it was going to be passed on.
But
And
if you and I had a conversation, I told you I was going to tell Chris.
Then I would, yeah. And
then we're both guilty.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this as it relates to subcommittees. There have been in the past situations where we have substituted for each other. There's been times when
in a committee meeting.
in a committee meeting where you were gone and they needed
You need to have a committee
they
meeting.
need well the infrastructure still needed to meet and they wanted to have 2 board members, so I went to that.
And I've done it too.
Yeah. So how does that?
Well, make it more concrete. Infrastructure.
Right.
You substitute for me in an infrastructure meeting, but you're also on the Parks Committee.
Right.
And something is discussed at the infrastructure meeting that ought to be delegated to the Parks Committee. And so you say, well, I'm on the Parks Committee, I'll take it to the Parks Committee. So then you go to the Parks Committee, so that's 3 people.
Okay. So that's my concern is are we setting ourselves up for a problem when we're substituting in subcommittees, because we're trying to continue to have the work continue to be done. That's my concern.
And I think that what you ought to do is avoid the substitution, because what it does, it sends you up in an environment where there could be communications relayed to you, whether you intended it or not. The other thing that you should try to do with committees that are working on major projects is allow the current committee members to finish those projects and their
We've
communications.
done that in the past.
And before you change committee
There's
members.
another easy solution, and that is that you can have a committee meeting with one person in the committee absent, and then you don't have a committee report, okay? But that committee can meet again before the board meeting when the person that was absent is available, and the two persons can discuss it and decide whether they want to agree to make
That's a better
a recommendation of the committee. It doesn't have to be, because these meetings don't have to be formal, it can be just those two people meeting, for example, before a board meeting. Let's say I'm out of town, infrastructure committee meets, Art's there, and I'm not there, so it's one person. And then before the board meeting, Art and I get together and we go over what was discussed at that meeting that I did not attend to determine whether the two of us can agree on a recommendation of the committee, which is us two. Then there's no third person ever involved. And and now if we don't do that, then you can still have a committee recommendation that comes without the committee in full force making the recommendation. It's a recommendation to the board by one committee member. That can happen too.
Sure.
So I think the safest thing is just to avoid substitutions entirely.
Okay.
So, going forward, no
Yeah.
substitute.
Yes.
An invoice meeting, it's a little different.
Okay, yeah, that is true.
What's
I
that?
think I think the billing and invoice is
Different.
a little different.
Well, billing and invoice is different, and also a deed restriction is different, because deed restriction has the authority to make decisions that encumber the board.
right.
But billing and invoice, I hadn't thought about. What about that, Bill?
Well, the whole purpose of billing and invoice is
You have two people to sign.
Is to get signatures.
And DRCs are always full board meetings.
Yes, exactly.
So, it's not an issue.
Yeah. So what you could do with billing and invoice, you could have those checks sitting there, and some board. I mean, we've done that before. I've been asked to go in and sign checks because there was no one at the meeting.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Really, in that situation, you're not sharing information, you're just signing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, I'm not, I don't really consider the billing and invoice meeting where you're basically signing checks. I don't consider that's gonna be an issue.
Historically, we have, Chris, you recall, when Brian Harden was here, we had some occasions where the billing and invoice committee wound up reporting to the board that before such and such a check was signed, more information needed to be provided. And then that was delegated to staff or to a committee.
Right.
So, but I don't think that's happened since then. That happened long ago when Brian was on the committee. Have we seen anything like that since?
I don't think so. I mean, one person can ask Infomark for more information about a check just the same as two can. And
Yeah.
That's usually what would happen.
Yeah, and that person can ask with full authority.
Right.
Yeah,
And we'll defer, signing the check and making the payment to the.
exactly.
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 Okay.
You good with
Okay.
that, Christie?
Okay. So are we done with that agenda item? Anything else, Bill? Okay. Item number 9, legal action against person who just board members or threatened board members or district consultants.
Have anything to present on that today?
Okay. Agenda item 10, district records retention program. I think this actually sort of gets back to, isn't that going to circle back into what we were talking about, the recommendations
Yeah,
to?
sounds like it.
Well, actually, this is different.
Yeah, it is.
This is on the agenda because over time, we have very old records, and Infomark was recommending some records be destroyed. We can't destroy a record unless it's outside of the mandated period. We keep it under the retention policy. So this was just actually a placeholder to bring that up at the meeting. We're not actively doing that right now, as far as
So
record
we-
description.
Once a year.
Right, when we have a retention policy,
Mhm.
and when we moved from our old office to our new office, going back to this ad hoc committee, this will be discussed in more detail, but most of our records that were paper records were scanned electronically in our system.
There needs to be some organization of them, but most of those records pertaining to the retention policy that we have are scanned and sent and filed in our system. So a lot of the paper part of it, we do not have anymore.
But that's why we had this agenda item, because we were working through that process. I don't know if we need to keep it on as a standing item. So-
Didn't we have some history of open records requests going back to some of these records that we had scanned copies but not original copies because the date had passed? And there was some objection from the persons making the request that they wanted to see the originals and they were no longer there. I have this vague recollection that we went through that.
I don't think it was a complaint about having scanned copy versus original. There were actual records that were up for destruction.
They wanted to see.
And they may have been scanned as well. I think that records were scheduled to be
Well, I mean,
destroyed.
I believe, and I'd have to go back and look at the minutes, but I believe during that move, we had labeled, filed all the boxes. There were boxes and boxes, I want to say 150 boxes that we had labeled for, depending on the retention
For
policy,
destruction.
of what could be destroyed, thrown out per the policy, and what needed to be saved. The items that were saved were the ones that were scanned in and are on our server.
And the ones that did not need to be saved were not scanned.
That's correct.
Isn't that where the problem arose? There was
Some were going to be destroyed, I think was the...
and some of the complaint was that somebody wanted to see the ones that were going to be destroyed. I remember.
I think that's correct.
I don't recall.
I think that, yeah.
So we can keep this item on, or we can take it off. I don't know we have any active work on it.
Well, I just want to make sure that this new ad hoc committee looks at this. Because my personal is, if we've got something that's, 30 years old and there isn't a reason to hang on to the paper.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
This happened. We do not need to be keeping records any longer than the retention period says to keep.
Yes.
Then the law requires.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why we did a purge when we moved.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we'll keep it on for now.
Okay. Agenda item 11, prior and pending open records request, costs incurred by district and allowable costs to be charged by the requesters. Do we have anything that we want to discuss about that? Okay.
We already talked about it.
Okay. Agenda item 12, district rate order. Anything?
Not aware of anything tonight.
Okay. Agenda item 13, district rules and regulations, appeals and fines. I don't think we have anything.
We don't have any appeals or any of those
Okay.
types of things.
There were some things pending from Monday. Is any?
This is different. This is not DRC fines.
Right.
This is when we have people blowing leaves in the...
Right.
Oh, I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to go for agenda item 14, review all committees and subcommittees. Nothing there. I've already taken care of it. Okay.
Should I take that off?
Yeah, let's go ahead and we can take that off.
Put that back on after the next election.
Okay, item 15, report from the Parks Committee.
Already done that.
Okay. Okay, agenda item 16, report from the Deed Restriction Committee.
Approval of the minutes.
Well, we approved the minutes at the DRC.
Oh, that's
Right.
right, we did.
Okay, I don't think, do you have anything for 16E, Bill? Anything about lawsuits or anything
I don't
like that?
have anything in addition
We
to
addressed
the
that
DRC.
with
review.
Okay. Agenda item 17, report from the Investment Committee.
We don't have anything.
Nothing? Okay. Pardon me? Oh, okay. Agenda item 18, report from the Audit Committee.
Those two items we've moved to the special meeting agenda,
February
Okay.
5th.
February 5th.
And Louis, we'll probably need to get together before
Yes.
that meeting.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I forgot to have the right pens. Okay. Agenda item 19, report from the Bills and Invoices Committee. Anything?
No.
Okay. 20, report from the Budget Committee.
No.
No.
Nothing, okay. 21, report from the Customer Care Committee.
I think that those two items that are on my report will go to the ad hoc committee.
Under 23 and 24?
There are two items. Are we on 25?
No.
Not quite yet, not quite yet.
Okay.
Okay, number 22, video recording of board meetings. I don't think we have anything to discuss.
Everything's going good.
Okay, agenda item 23, report from the Information Management Committee. iPads, notebooks for directors' use of Google Docs and Google Drive.
Okay.
Was that something, is that what you're talking
Yes.
about? Okay.
That's item 5.
And I think that may now go to possibly the ad hoc
Yeah.
committee,
I-
because
should be.
this
Yeah.
talks about the organization of
Okay.
the district files.
Right.
In addition to the organization of the district files and using the technology that we have here that didn't work so well tonight, but we'll get that going. I've got it on my iPad now, so I can link up to it. Is the possibility of using Google Drive.
Okay.
And instead of bringing bukus of paper, we
sure.
put it on Google Drive and we have a presentation and you guys have access to it. You can review the reports. Committees can have their committee items on the drive. We use it for another district and, I mean, they've gone completely paperless.
Okay.
And it also makes ease for pulling records and sending that stuff out because it's all
Yep.
in a central location.
So each committee would have
A
their little
folder.
section, yeah.
Yes, and you can share those folders with particular people.
Who you
But not
designate.
only in the
Yeah.
committee.
The Texas
Yes.
Association of Water Boards uses that system, and I've really been impressed with it, the ease of it.
I use it at another district, and it really is, it's easy, one, which is good
Yes.
for us. But it's also, it's stored on the cloud, and all the information there. You can
Easily
control who can share files, who cannot, as long as the administrative, so that's something that Jana and Chris will discuss.
Well, an example would be when Heather left, if we'd have had all her records on the cloud, we wouldn't have
Yeah.
lost
Yeah.
everything that went with her.
Yeah. Okay, agenda item 24, report from the Infrastructure Committee.
we've
Is there
covered
anything
that.
else left?
Covered everything.
We've covered all that.
Okay. 25, report from the Management Committee. 25A, additional contract with Infomark for employee part-time person to assist with processing open records requests. Okay, so what's going on there?
We're gonna meet, is what I thought.
Well, we're gonna discuss you hiring a part-time
Well, I mean.
person strictly tasked for open record requests.
Yeah, so this person that I'm thinking, it's a two-way deal. With the open records that are coming in, yes, there are some that we can handle, or we could pull the documents, but most of the open records requests that are coming in need to go through the attorneys for an opinion on, what
Okay.
needs, they're more complicated than just a simple one document. The person that I'm requesting here, obviously, when we put our contract together, our contract was based on historical,
Right.
and the open records that came in started coming in after we based our contract. So our historical records Lee has a full-time job basically dealing with the 1,950 connections that we have out here and all the infrastructure, the parks, the reservation. Her job was not to spend 5 hours a day working on open records requests and emails and following up with those types of items. In addition to that, and really going in, diving in deep with organizing the files, that's something too, that's a bigger scope than what our routine scope is that we defined in our contract. So if it makes sense, when the committee, I think this kind of goes hand in hand with what the committee is looking at, is this person not only, it makes sense to have a person that is at an administrative level that is able to organize our district files, and in return, that person understands where all the files are, what they are, and if a open records request comes in, they're knowledgeable on where those files are located. So it's that person that is very much involved in organizing the files and would be involved with the open records requests as they come in.
Okay.
So, Bill, we would need to amend the contract, right?
Well, I believe you could do a supplement to the contract, and the Infomark attorney could draw up something. It doesn't need to be very complicated.
you
That
create a
we would
scope
be
and a
looking to,
task,
we'd be
right.
looking to Christie and her attorney to draw up some sort of supplement or addendum to the contract, and then we would review it.
It would be similar to, if you recall years back, we had two separate contracts. We had a contract for the finance, the accounting side, and then we had an operations contract.
Right.
So this would be a contract, let's say if it's a part-time deal, we think that the scope is only going to be a year or 2 years, you could terminate that particular contract and the other one would keep going.
Okay.
Okay.
Who's on the management committee, contract management?
Isn't it you and Chris?
I think so.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Yeah, it's you and Chris. Yeah.
Last time it was you and I, so.
No, I put him on it.
So before we could really give it board consideration, we have to produce some kind of document.
Right.
Right. And I do want the board to realize that we can't tell Infomark how to keep their records. Some of these records are theirs. And I mean, if they're producing documents for us every month, okay? So, you know, how they do it, I'm sure you don't have a separate accounting system for all of your clients. I mean, you try to use the same one
Right.
for everybody. So we've got to take that into consideration. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Okay.
I think it may be just scanning documents and having PDFs or
Okay.
maybe Excel documents. Because most everything now, all software can be issued Excel report that you can sort and do an alphabetical order and numerical order and things like that. So
Okay.
it doesn't even, they can change their software and we can still get those Excel reports. So.
Okay. So, is this something that you're going to come back with next month, or?
Yes, I'll meet with the committee, and what we'll do is we'll do an amendment or a supplement to our contract
Okay.
for consideration for this position.
Okay. So
And the
you.
scope of what that position.
So
will
then
be.
we'll need to have something on next month's agenda, is what you're saying.
Well, we can have the same item. on-
Okay. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
It's on there.
Okay.
Okay. Report from the Solid Waste Committee.
We had a little hiccup with recyclables, but they went ahead and they told me they picked up everything. I was heard from
That's not the
Linda
case.
that they didn't. So I'm gonna tell them next Monday, that they're gonna have to do a pick up everything again.
Okay.
Because they apparently missed some streets.
Yeah. They didn't. Linda.
Yeah, they missed yours,
They
didn't they?
missed me.
Yeah.
But you're on the B or?
No, I'm on a B. Yeah. I'm on. Yucca didn't get done.
Well-
Sierra Blanco didn't get
That was my
done.
day, I was like totally on.
Yeah, well,
Everybody on my street thought it was their day.
they thought they'd fixed that. Well, they're gonna have to fix it again.
And
Okay.
it's even more complicated than that, because
It
Ev-
shouldn't be complicated.
everybody in my neighborhood, including me, has been operating on a 2-week cycle,
Yep.
which included December the 30th.
I understand.
And
I
it's not-
thought
and
the-
that-
I thought
and-
the same thing. but
And
they-
that's not consistent with the printed cycle that Lee was good enough to give me.
I understand.
And,
Well,
and everybody on all the streets around me, Astor Pass, Buckeye, Beach, everybody had their recycles out.
Okay, look, Paul has been very receptive just to making it right, and I
Okay.
think he will.
Okay,
Okay.
but
I know he will.
what we need to do is if the printed schedule is now going to be observed, then
Yes.
we need to get some word out to the neighborhoods, and I don't know how we're going to do
What
that.
does that sound like?
Did we
We-
send the calendar out?
Yes, yeah. The problem was, the calendar's correct, but then Waste Management came out and did something different.
Exactly. So people became accustomed to a 2-week cycle that was
Right.
different than the actual
Right.
calendar.
So your calendar's correct, so.
Yeah, so-
when he figured that out, yeah.
So what happened is this past Monday, people were operating on that schedule that has worked, but was not.
But at the Hills-
It was not the
Right,
printed schedule.
Right, exactly. So now what we're gonna have to do another week of picking up everything and then
Okay.
going back to the printed schedule.
Yeah, but what's going to happen is we're going to pick up everything, and those people who get picked up are going to think, that means it's
Well,
my
but
two.
that's
It's
where
gonna cause
the-
more confusion.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
do
gonna-
this,
it's-
let's do this. Hey, let's put up the mobile sign that says, Look, check calendar for recycle pickup.
So
Check the
reiterate what
Yeah.
was sent out in the newsletter?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, let's
Exactly.
put it on the front, it is on the front page of the
Yeah,
website.
do it, but Lewis has got a point. When you see everybody else's cans on the street,
Yeah,
or they didn't pick
yeah.
up last week, and they go, well, they're gonna pick up this week, so.
And I went through a bunch of streets. I printed out that kind. I went through a bunch of streets and talked to, and everybody I talked to was really indignant.
I know.
You know,
All right, Chris, we'll put out the mobile sign.
Would you read the email I sent you this afternoon?
Yes, I will.
Because
I'll
the
read it.
solution is so simple.
Okay, I'll read it.
I think if you should do what I do, is I just take it to whether or not I got paid on Friday or not. That's
If
when
we
I
do it
know
this
it's
way,
recycle
you
day.
just pick up everything. I mean, even this week, maybe send it back, because there's still stuff out there, right? And that's the thing, the other thing I worry about, what about the people that put it back, taking it off the curb, and now it's back there? Are they supposed to put it out again next Monday?
Well, that's what I'm
that's
hearing I'm
that's
supposed
what
to
you're
do.
saying. You're saying they're going to go ahead and pick up everything
If
next
it's
month.
sitting out on, oh, yes, that's
And-
what they're gonna have to do. They
and
have to
that
pick
will
up
set
everything
that will
next
set the
That'll set it
stage.
straight, and I'll look at your email.
That Christie was right. That's going to cause even more confusion.
No,
It is, they're not gonna know what day.
well, we'll keep it straight. We'll figure it out.
What about?
Write this one down, Diane.
No, look, if they pick up everything on Monday, and then go back to the calendar the way it was, it'll be fine.
Wait, go back to the calendar the way it's published.
Yes, the way it's published.
If you go back to the you go back to the calendar the way it's
The
published.
way it's published.
Okay, then you got a whole lot of people that have been following
We
the
can't
2
think
weeks.
about- We can't think about what's happened in the past, Louis. So long they pick up the card Monday,
No, well,
everybody's
well-
Monday, it doesn't matter
Well,
what
we're
happens.
gonna have to tell the HOAs too, because
Yeah.
Valente prints the schedule.
Yeah.
you know.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Theirs is right.
Lee, have we gotten notices out to all the HOAs?
I'm sorry?
Have we gotten notices out to all the HOAs? We could do that.
We'll work it out,
Calendar
okay?
went out with the bills. in
We'll
December.
work it out.
This week was a new week for pickup.
But that's Melinda Hill.
You all, you all.
Yeah,
are
what we've learned is that putting things in the bill doesn't work for probably 90% of people who just don't look at
No, it doesn't
it.
work for 6% of them.
Yeah. So what I'd suggest is that we get the current calendar out to all the HOAs and ask them to let their people know. And we have it on the website. Tell them where to find it on the website. And what else should we do, Christie?
Do you want it the mobile sign out?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Chris
Refer to
suggested the mobile sign.
website,
Yeah.
Refer to the website,
Yeah.
the calendar on recycling.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's do that.
we can do that.
Here, show this for me.
You know, I do what I told them. I just said, well, pick it up next time. Do you have that much recycling that you
Yeah,
can overfill your?
that's another thing. But see, at Christmas time, we did
Yes,
have that much
yes.
Yeah.
recycling.
Are you serious?
And the other thing is, if you have overflow, they won't pick it up. You have to put it out. You have to put it out with the bulk.
Well, put it in your neighbors.
Well, I've done that too.
Me too.
Well, for the bulk pickup, I moved I had too many bags to leave, so I just.
All right,
moved
let's
them
move on.
around.
Come
Yeah.
on, I'm tired.
Boy.
On
I want to go
Okay.
home.
on this item, A,
I've already, it's in the mail.
26A,
I've talked to him, it's in the mail.
but that's the exhibit, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, we have this
Okay.
other issue of placing district information on the monitor.
Oh, okay.
That we wanted to bring attention to the board. I'm going to pass out, getting you this from the cloud, taking it from the cloud and setting it on your.
Oh, no.
Lee probably needs to know that. They're gonna be sending the check here. Okay,
Oh.
once a month.
Really?
Yes.
I have no idea what
Okay,
this
so
is
what
about.
What is this guy talking
Okay, so
about?
what we were contacted by Matt Whittington. He's the reverse cycle
Yeah.
machine guy that's up there. And he provided this information, but one of his questions was, under our contract, the district gets to put information on that screen.
Right.
You know,
Another place
there's
to put
ads
information.
right?
Another place to put stuff, that's good.
You talking about
Yeah.
the screen on the machine here?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be ads and things, that's how he's gonna make money, is
Right.
selling ads. And the district gets the right to have its own information on there too, like your own ads.
Right.
And the email says you get 60 seconds of the time on the monitor.
That's a lot.
So, you can put anything on there, although he will not do alcohol or tobacco ads.
Well, good.
Or elections, he's not gonna do
Good.
anything
That's
on
another
elections.
thing you should.
So, the way the contract works, we can veto anything on there, and he can veto anything on there. So it's really up to the board to decide, or at least task a
I know the
committee.
first thing that should be on there.
When is your recycling? Yes.
Refer to website for recycling schedule. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, how about the calendar?
Why can't we, there's a big screen there, why can't we
Yeah,
have
we
the?
could.
Yeah,
We could.
that's what I
Okay,
think should
it's
be.
9:30, let's get this
Yeah.
show on the road.
Hey, under this one, I just want to mention that we do have a check for $5.77.
That's the check.
This is the
Yeah,
check.
yeah, that's a
Your
small one.
contribution.
That's a small one. I mean, that's just the first one.
That's a check from the recycling?
Right, but that's the first one. It is small.
Oh, hey
Well,
man,
yeah, it's small,
Well,
$5.77.
well, that should be it, go on the website, say,
Hey, we're recycling. That's
That's
the most
right,
important
yes.
thing.
So Catherine, which, as far as determining the content of the information,
Yeah,
the reason we're bringing it to me, this went to solid waste because they have the machine.
uh-huh,
And I didn't know if you wanted solid waste to work on that or a different committee on the information to put on the screen, basically.
I don't know. I think it should be the information group.
yeah, the people dealing with the website, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's make it, let's just.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Next.
but I agree, the first thing that needs to go on, we need to get up there is the flyer, the flyer, okay. Okay. Agenda item 27, service provider vendor evaluations. What's going on there?
I don't know. Wait to hear from you.
Well, you'll recall this came up a few meetings ago,
Mm-hmm.
and you were gonna, and the board is gonna involve me in organizing and reviewing the contracts that are existing. And then I believe Infomark had volunteered that they had a working chart, and they were gonna get it to us. I have not seen that yet, so that's where we are.
Okay, so did I hand that off to the management committee? Is that what I did?
No,
I don't know what we did.
nothing I knew of.
Well, I do remember that, that's what I thought.
We did not review that when we met.
I think what we talked about is the management committee and Infomark would have general oversight of all the contracts.
Right.
But some of the contracts are more specific to a committee, like landscaping
Right.
and parks. And
Right.
so we wouldn't get the information from Infomark and kind of discern what the
Right.
scope was.
Who
And
gets
then start
what?
assigning.
Wasn't even on our radar when we met, so I apologize.
Okay.
I need to put that back on the radar.
Right,
Yes.
so you had the matrix of all the contracts. So if I remember, the original idea was to get the appropriate subcommittees overseeing the contracts that were basically in their purview.
Yeah,
So-
so it's basically a review of the
Yeah.
contracts and the services each contractor is providing.
Right.
Yeah. So what I would suggest then is, I'd like to see the matrix, because I'm really interested in understanding what the timelines for all the different contracts that are spinning. And then,
Yeah, I'm good with it.
let's put that,
We're putting,
the next time each committee meets, once you know what contracts are gonna be under your purview, I'd like you to spend a few minutes looking at it, to make sure that there's nothing that that needs to come up for review. Okay? Okay. Okay, agenda 28, traffic hazards in the district. Do we have anything about that? Agenda item 29, corrections or clarifications or misstatements. Do we have anything about that?
it's too late.
Okay. Agenda item 30, license agreements with Williamson County. Where are we standing with that?
We're not actively working on license agreement with Williamson County because they said no.
Okay,
But we're in the process of finalizing the Travis County on the solar signs.
okay,
And the side issue of the other in-street sign
right.
was vetoed by the county. So we're still exploring whether they would put it on the side, but we're not including that in the license agreement.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we're close.
Okay. Okay. Agenda item 31, review of the minutes for the previous meeting. Look good to me.
Review them, I'll motion to approve them.
I'll second it. Any Any discussion? Okay, all approved. I need somebody to, number 32, adjourn the meeting.
I motion to adjourn this meeting.
Do I have a second? Second. All approved? Okay.
This is the thing that Sarah and Linda asked for. Emails or texts sent between board
Me,
members.
I'll sign it.
I don't think that affected you. Did you? Catherine, one of the things that's happened is that the minutes are putting an awful lot of detail about what Sarah says, and I'd like to stop that.
Oh, you know what she's talking about, the ACC?
And this is
Yeah.
not normal. Nice to meet you. Tell her this meeting.
And I don't know.
She's scared.